Chapter 708. That place is also a battlefield. The old man sneered. None of your men will survive. How many of you are on the other side of the mountain? 6. The old man did not hide it. Charlotte breathed a sigh of relief and thought to himself, so there are only 6 of them. Then I won't have to worry anymore. Although he did not know the strength of the knights of the hospital, with only 6 killers, it was impossible for them to be a match for the Zodiac squad. The old man raised his trembling hand. Give me the letter. You haven't answered my question, Charlotte said. Why did you set up an ambush here? What do you want from me? God's medal. The old man looked at Charlotte's backpack, his eyes shining with excitement. You got it, didn't you? Charlotte shook his head. I didn't get any God's medal. I'm an atheist. I don't believe in ghosts and gods in this world. People without faith are pitiful. You won't be saved. The old man did not seem to believe Charlotte's words. He was still looking at Charlotte's backpack. However, he did not have Charlotte's eyes that could see through things. Otherwise, he would have seen the medal lying in Charlotte's backpack. Why do you want it? Is it important? Does it have any special meaning? I don't know. Charlotte looked at the old man coldly. I don't know. Even if you kill me, I won't know. The old man was not afraid. Well, tell me, why did you set up an ambush here? Charlotte said. The old man took a deep breath. We are only responsible for cutting off your retreat. Charlotte suddenly understood. There were 6 people on the other side of the mountain, but there were only 3 here. The knights of the hospital actually did not know the way out of the maze. Otherwise, they would have entered it long ago. Although they did not know the way out of the maze, they had a certain understanding of it, so they set up an ambush here. Apart from the 9 of you, is there anyone else? Charlotte asked again. No, cough cough cough. The old man coughed violently and his breathing quickened. However, he still tried his best to raise his hand. Give me the letter. I am a man of my word. Charlotte placed the letter in the old man's hand. A smile appeared on the old man's face. He tried to open the envelope, but as soon as he opened it, his hand dropped. Then, he opened his mouth wide in an attempt to breathe, but only air came out of his mouth, not in. Sorry for wasting your time, Charlotte said apologetically. A soft sound came from the old man's throat, and then he stopped breathing. He took a look at the letter left behind by his ancestor. This was his dying wish, but Charlotte had no obligation to fulfill it. Ding-ling-ling, ding-ling-ling, when he walked out of the church hall, the bell rang. It's me. Are you okay? Charlotte answered the phone. Do you know what happened? Yelena's voice was filled with surprise. Charlotte said, I also just finished a battle. Yelena was silent for a moment, then said, We also just went through a battle. Alessio was injured, but it wasn't a fatal injury. Yelena's voice. That's good. Charlotte breathed a sigh of relief, then he remembered something. How many people did you kill? 5. Yelena said. Charlotte frowned. I killed 3, but I left 1 alive. He said that there were 6 people on your side. That's impossible. If there were, then he definitely didn't participate in the battle, otherwise he wouldn't have been able to escape. Yelena said. This possibility wasn't impossible. Every member of the Zodiac squad was equipped with an XL 2500 sniper rifle and a Gale assault rifle, which had powerful firepower and an extremely long range. If there was a firefight with the strength of the Zodiac squad, would they let an enemy escape? That was almost impossible. If such a situation occurred, then it could really be as Yelena said, unless that person didn't participate in the battle from the beginning and had been hiding. Charlotte's heart moved, and he secretly said, That person who escaped, could it be an important member of the Knights Hospitaller? Boss? Where are you right now? Yelena's voice. I'm on the other side of the mountain. Don't worry about me, leave immediately. You guys go to a safe place, I'll meet up with you soon. Charlotte said. Got it, be careful. Yelena hung up the phone. After ending the call with Yelena, Charlotte returned to the church. He held the sniper rifle in his hand. If one of the opponents escaped, it was hard to guarantee that they wouldn't escape through the valley. If they met again, he had a sniper rifle in his hand, then he had nothing to worry about. When he walked out of the church hall, Charlotte looked back. The corpses of the 3 old people lay quietly on the ground, blood flowing silently from their bodies, staining the dusty ground red. Jesus on the cross was still looking at him with the same pair of eyes full of pity. Charlotte hesitated for a moment and finally imitated the Christian way of drawing a cross in front of his chest, and then said, "I'm sorry, please forgive me, I was forced." If Jesus could move, he would probably fly down from the cross and kick this yellow-skinned kid in the face. After leaving the church, a muddy road led to the direction of the valley entrance. The road was full of wheel grooves made by the carriages, the depth of which varied. On both sides of the road was originally cultivated land, but after being abandoned, it had become a paradise of weeds. All kinds of weeds grew in the soil, a large area like a wheat field in spring. Such a good place, I don't know why it was abandoned. Charlotte felt a little strange. He walked along the muddy road in the direction of the valley entrance. His speed wasn't fast. As he walked, he kept his left eye in a state of telescopic vision, scanning the area within a radius of more than 4,000 meters. His left eye was like a spy satellite, no movement could escape his detection. It was very quiet along the way, there was not the slightest unusual movement. Half an hour later, Charlotte approached the valley entrance. The valley entrance was like the mouth of a bottle, the hillsides on both sides were dense forest. Even with his left eye, Charlotte couldn't see through all the trees. Chirp, chirp, chirp. A flock of birds suddenly flew out from the forest on the right side. He didn't see the target, but Charlotte's nerves suddenly tightened. The next second, he suddenly lay down in the grass. The wild grass covered his body, but it also blocked his line of sight. This was a very passive situation, but he had no choice. He was in low terrain, the other party could easily see him, but it was difficult for him to see the other party. If the other party had a sniper rifle, being exposed to the other party's vision was a very dangerous thing. The flock of startled birds flew away in the blink of an eye, and the forest returned to silence. After that, there was no movement for a few minutes. Is it just a flock of birds that suddenly flew up? Am I too nervous? Charlotte thought to himself. Although this was what he thought, Charlotte still didn't dare to rashly climb up. Normally, people could make all kinds of mistakes, but here, as long as they made a mistake, they could be killed. If he made a mistake here, he wouldn't have the chance to make the same mistake in the future. After a few minutes, Charlotte slowly crawled forward. There was still no movement in the forest. But at this moment, a flock of birds suddenly flew out from the forest on the left side. The sound of birds' cries echoed in the valley entrance. Charlotte adjusted his posture, facing the forest on the left side, and then carefully looked up from the grass. He didn't poke his head out from the highest point of the grass, but used his X-ray vision to filter the grass that blocked his vision. About a few minutes later, a tall blond old man ran out from the forest. He seemed to be in a sorry state, running towards the wasteland while looking back, as if he was afraid that someone would catch up to him. The old man was holding a sniper rifle in his hand. Charlotte's left eye locked on the sniper rifle, and information related to the rifle appeared in his mind. It was an L115A3 sniper rifle. This sniper rifle was also known as the Super Sniper Rifle. It was a new sniper rifle produced by the British Precision International Company. It had a range of 1,600 meters, and was a sharp weapon for sniping jungle and city targets. Because it could easily penetrate tree trunks and walls, it could shoot targets hidden behind cover. Because of its excellence, it had now become the sniper rifle of choice for the British Special Forces. However, it was useless. In front of the XL 2500 sniper rifle, it was just a piece of trash. As soon as the old man entered his sight, Charlotte determined his identity. This old man was the one who didn't participate in the battle and sneaked away alone. He's holding a sniper rifle but didn't participate in the battle. Why? Charlotte's heart was full of guesses. Is he timid? That's unlikely. Since he's a knight from the Knights of the Hospital, he should value the honor of a knight, right? But if he wasn't timid, why would he leave his companions and sneak away? Regardless of the reason, Charlotte quietly grabbed the M82A1 sniper rifle he had seized and slowly moved forward. Finally, he took the initiative to ignore the scope of the M82A1 sniper rifle and locked on to the target with his left eye. The tall, blond old man was getting closer and closer. 1,200 meters. Charlotte's brain gave a number of distances. At this distance, if he had used the XL 2500 sniper rifle, he would have already shot. However, the effective range of the M82A1 sniper rifle was only about 1,000 meters. Once the bullet flew out, it would mostly depend on luck to hit the target. Therefore, even though he had locked on to the target, he still chose to hide and wait for the target to approach. The old man ran forward for another 100 meters and then stopped. He placed the butt of the sniper rifle on the ground and gasped for breath. He didn't turn around to look, but he looked very nervous. The corner of Charlotte's lips curled up slightly. Damn it. Will you die of exhaustion if you run another 100 meters? He placed his finger on the trigger and quietly waited for the old man to approach again. The old man rested for a while before he picked up the sniper rifle and walked forward again. As he walked, he took out his phone and made a call. Charlotte's heart skipped a beat. His finger moved away from the trigger and his left eye locked on to the old man's mouth. I'm in the valley. Come and get me immediately. The old man spoke very quickly. The holy relic has most likely fallen into their hands. We can't let them escape. I'll find them even if I have to raise Bob Bio to the ground. This tone. Could it be that he's an important figure in the Knights of the Hospital? Or even the leader? Charlotte's finger moved to the trigger again. Chapter 709. Since they had already engaged in battle, they were enemies. Xiaolei never showed the slightest bit of mercy to his enemies. Killing an important figure of the Knights Hospitaller, who might even be the leader of the Knights Hospitaller, made Charlotte even more determined to shoot and kill. The old man put away his phone, looked up at the sky, and walked forward. Charlotte's finger pressed back bit by bit. Rumble. The sound of the huge propeller cutting through the air and the engine roaring came from behind him. Charlotte suddenly turned his body sideways and lay on his side in the grass. This position could reduce the surface area of his body that would be discovered. A civilian helicopter appeared from the mountain peak to the right of the valley entrance. In the blink of an eye, it flew over Charlotte's head and landed next to the old man. Just as the helicopter flew over his head, Charlotte had a clear look at the situation on the helicopter. In addition to the pilot, there were 4 men on the helicopter. This time, it was not an old man, but 4 very young people. 3 were white and 1 was black. One of the white men was holding a sniper rifle, and the other 2 were holding assault rifles. The black man was holding a minigun 6-barreled machine gun in an exaggerated manner. Schwarzenegger and Dwayne Johnson loved to use this kind of gun on the screen. In front of such a heavy machine gun, any sniper rifle was pale and powerless. The old man crouched and boarded the helicopter, braving the strong wind caused by the propeller. Just now, Charlotte had the chance to kill him, but Charlotte did not regret not shooting. In fact, he was even glad that he did not shoot rashly. Otherwise, in this wasteland full of weeds, he would be dead the moment the helicopter arrived. The black machine gunner would probably need less than 2 minutes to turn him into pieces of minced meat. Using a sniper rifle to destroy the helicopter's engine? This kind of thing could probably only be seen in movies. The speed of the helicopter was so fast that it was impossible to aim at it. Even if one could barely aim, a bullet would need 2 seconds to fly across a distance of 2 kilometers. In these 2 seconds, would the helicopter stop moving? Even if the pilot of the helicopter was an idiot and hovered the helicopter in the air, the minigun machine gun would not go easy on him. Just as Charlotte was sweating and secretly rejoicing, the helicopter took off again and flew over the top of the mountain on the left. Charlotte hurriedly took out his satellite phone and dialed Yelena's number. "Where are you now?" "We're almost at the safe point," Yelena said. Charlotte breathed a sigh of relief. "Their reinforcements have arrived. They have a helicopter and a minigun machine gun. There might be enemies on the ground as well. Don't enter Bobbio. Don't take the safe spots in the town. Get Alessio to find another safe place. He's Italian, he has his ways." "I know." "When will you be with us?" "At night. Keep in touch. Tell me the location after you've settled down and I'll come over." "Who are they?" "Knights of the hospital." Charlotte hung up the phone. He would not tell them the secret of the Zodiac Squad, Ancient Alloy, and AE, but he would definitely tell them who the enemy was. After ending the call, Charlotte quickly got up and sprinted toward the forest on the right as fast as he could. He did not know if the helicopter would return, but he did not dare to take the risk of passing through the valley on the wasteland. Charlotte ran on the wasteland with his body leaning forward. He was extremely fast, like a cheetah running on the grass. Just as he ran into the forest on the right, the helicopter suddenly appeared on the top of the mountain on the left, entered the valley, and flew in the direction of the church. Charlotte hid behind a tree and let out a long sigh of relief. Only then did he realize that his back was already drenched in cold sweat. Based on the situation just now, if he had been a few seconds late, the enemy might have discovered him. The helicopter quickly flew above the church and landed. Charlotte did not hesitate anymore. He went into the forest and walked in the opposite direction from Bobbio. At the same time, a small container car was driving on the road out of Bobbio. The container was printed with the slogan KFC Deluxe Set Launched. However, the container did not contain KFC drumsticks and chicken wings, but 6 members of the Zodiac Squad. "Damn it!" Alessio clenched his teeth and looked ferocious. "I will definitely be shot by an old man. This is simply a disgrace." "That's enough." Bagu's expression was very solemn. "Those old guys are not ordinary people. I was almost killed." "Who are they?" Amanda had already asked. All eyes were focused on Yelena. Yelena shrugged. "I was going to tell you just now, but Alessio kept nagging." "Was I nagging?" Alessio pointed at his thigh that was still bleeding. "I was King shot. If you were shot, I would let you nag all day." Boss said they were from some Knights of the hospital. Yelena did not want to bicker with Alessio. "Knights of the hospital?" Amanda looked confused. It wasn't just Avatar. Everyone, including Yelena, was confused. Could it be an Italian mafia organization? Bagu voiced his thoughts. Marcus looked at Alessio. "Dragon, you are Italian. You are familiar with the Italian gangs. Is this Knights of the Hospital a new gang?" "A new Italian gang." Alessio laughed. "A gang full of old men and women? I bet my D*CK that if there is one, I will cut it." Then he cried out in pain again. His laughter just now had pulled at his wound and it hurt badly. Yelena stared at Alessio coldly. "Animal. I think we should just ignore the old men and women from the Knights of the hospital," Marcus said. Marcus said, "We should find a way to help the boss. I don't know where he is now." Amanda opened her laptop and flipped the screen around. A GPS image appeared on the laptop screen. A red dot was moving quickly in the forest. "Don't worry. We just need to go to his front and pick him up. In a situation like this, we'd better follow his orders. Avoid fighting with enemy reinforcements," Amanda said. The satellite phone that Xiale had on him was the signal source of the location. Seeing Charlotte's signal source moving and jumping, the members of the Zodiac Squad breathed a sigh of relief. "Boss is the monkey among us. He can run so fast in the forest, Bagoo said with a sigh. The monkey is still here. I don't know when Dad will finish his mission, Yelena said. Guess who? Alessio said. I don't know. Dad just found out. If he didn't say, no one would know. Marcus said, I don't care about this kind of thing. While they were chatting, Amanda handed her phone to Alessio. On the screen of the phone was a page on Wikipedia, and the entry on it was, Knights Hospitaller. Alessio glanced at it and shouted, F***CK. This can't be real, right? We're fighting a medieval knight group? Is this the end of the world? Are we facing a group of vampire zombies? Marcus's expression was exaggerated. How did Boss get into trouble with such an organization? Bagoo's expression was also strange. Who knows? Bosses like Dad. They don't lack enemies. Marcus said with a smile, but I like this kind of life. It's so F***king exciting. At this time, Pu Taiyong's voice came from the container. Shut up, all of you. We have a situation. Get ready for battle. As soon as Pu Taiyong's voice fell, the roar of a helicopter came from above. Then, Pu Taiyong slowed down the car. The people in the container held their breath. 6 storm assault rifles were also aimed at the back door. However, the roar of the helicopter soon faded away. Pu Taiyong sped up and continued to drive forward. This kind of life was really exciting, and not everyone could bear it. At the same time, on the helicopter, the old man who was lucky enough to survive Xia Lei's muzzle tossed the remaining half of his cigar out of the cabin door. His emotions spontaneously combusted the instant the cigarette but flew out. Damn it! Are those guys magic? How could they disappear into thin air? The 4 gunners on the helicopter were silent. They didn't even dare to look at the old man's eyes. We lost 8 people. But that brat and his people actually managed to escape. For us, this is the biggest shame in hundreds of years. The old man was very angry. Count Fernando, our people have taken control of the whole of Bobbio. Our believers are also looking for traces of those people. I believe we can find him. A white gunner said cautiously. If we can't find that kid, we can't answer to the head commander. The old man called Fernando was no longer angry, but he looked a little tired. We lost 8 people, including Knight Captain Zoivolev. We paid such a big price, but someone actually escaped with the holy relic. I thought this was going to be an easy battle, but I didn't expect. I don't know how to face the head commander. Count Fernando, is the holy relic really with that kid? The white gunner asked. His people are in the front mountain, but the people in charge of the back mountain are dead. There's only one possibility. He came out of the maze. Fernando said, although I didn't see the relic, I think the possibility of the relic being with that kid is more than 80%. Suppose. The white gunner paused and said, suppose we failed this time and that kid escaped, where should we go to find him? Soren. Fernando looked at the white gunner. 2 days ago, the Louvre in Paris held a special night for a Chinese man. This was the first time the French government had made such an exception in many years. That kid went to see Mona Lisa. Then, a few strangers came to Bobbio. More importantly, that kid is the CEO of China's Rema Group. He's also the one who designed the XL 2500 sniper rifle and the Gale assault rifle. The gunners who fought with us all used these 2 types of guns. Soren, who do you think he is? Could it be the kid who made the guns? The white gunner called Soren immediately thought of this possibility. The face is different, but the body is the same. So, Fernando said a name. The kid who escaped is Charlotte. The French Army weapons exhibition is about to begin, and the French government specially invited Rema Group to participate in the exhibition. Soren, do you know where to find him? Great monk. Sauron's lips curled into a cold smile. France. Chapter 710. One day later, Paris, DGSE headquarters. Jacqueline Eva looked at the sky outside the window gloomily. The sky was clear, but she was in a terrible mood. There was a piece of information on her desk. In 3 days, she had found out the identity of Yamosa, the ace agent of the FA organization and the top killer of the FA organization. However, that was all the information she had obtained. There was no information about the FA organization headquarters, no trace of Yamosa, and no news about Charlotte. In such a situation, she had no way to save Charlotte. Benjamin, the director of the DGSE, only gave her 3 days, and today was the last day. She really did not know how to face Benjamin. Every time she thought about it, she couldn't help but feel depressed. She had lost him because of her. Beep beep, beep beep. The phone on the desk suddenly vibrated. Jacqueline Eva walked to the desk and picked up the phone. On the screen of the phone was a very ordinary local number. She hesitated for a moment, then slid the answer button and tentatively asked, "Who is it?" "Excuse me, are you Miss Jacqueline Eva?" It was a man's voice. "I am." Jacqueline Eva was a little more vigilant. "Who are you?" "Oh, I am a driver." The man said, "I work for Express Logistics." Jacqueline Eva frowned. "I don't have time to chat with you." "Wait." The man said, "A gentleman asked me to call you." "A gentleman?" "He is Chinese." The man said, "I met him on the road." "He is in bad shape," Jacqueline Eva anxiously interrupted the man. "Did he tell you his name?" "Charlotte." The man said, "This name is really hard to spell." Hearing Charlotte's name, Jacqueline Eva's heart almost jumped out of her chest. She could not suppress her excitement and said, "Quick! Give him the phone and let him talk to me." "That won't do." The man said, "He is in bad shape and is sleeping in my car. He said that as long as I call you and send him to you, you will give me 10,000 euros. Is that true?" This seemed to be the real reason why the driver called Jacqueline Eva. "No problem," Jacqueline Eva said, "but I need to understand the situation first. Tell me, how did you meet him? What's his situation now?" "This morning, I was driving away from Paris. On the way, I saw a man lying on the grass by the roadside. He was naked and covered in blood. I thought it was a corpse, but just as I was about to call the police, he woke up and asked for my help. I bought food for him, and then he asked me to call you. He said you would give me 10,000 euros. I'll give you 10,000 euros, don't mention it again. Tell me, is he badly hurt? It looks serious, but he's strong, so he should be fine. I suggested that he go to the hospital, but he refused. Okay, where are you? I'll bring him over immediately." Jacqueline Eva thought for a moment and then said, "Where are you?" "I'm at a gas station on Route 13 east of Paris. Stay there and don't move. I'll be right there." 10,000 Jacqueline Eva had already hung up. She really didn't want to hear the 10,000 euros. She grabbed the phone on the table and skillfully dialed a number. "Prepare 2 helicopters for me." At the same time, next to a gas station in the eastern suburbs of Paris, Charlotte, who was lying in the car, ended his X-ray vision. He didn't miss any part of the conversation between the French driver and Jacqueline Eva. He didn't even need to read the French driver's lips because the guy's voice was very loud. In one night, he returned to France from Italy. It wasn't difficult to get rid of the night's hospitaller. The difficult part was how to explain his escape to Jacqueline Eva. After all, he had made up and acted out a kidnapping that night. The French driver got in the car and looked at Charlotte, who was lying on the bed of the car. Charlotte closed his eyes and pretended to be asleep. The French driver reached out and pushed Charlotte's shoulder. "Hey, my friend, the woman named Jacqueline Eva asked me to wait here. I want to send you back, but she didn't even tell me the address." Charlotte opened his eyes, looking very weak. "It's okay. We'll wait here." "Then, will she give me 10,000 euros? "Yes. If she doesn't give it to you, I will," Charlotte said. This guy mentioned 10,000 euros every 2 minutes. He was already annoyed. "Oh, this money is very important to me. My wife, daughter, and I thank you. My friend, you really are a good person. How did you get hurt? Let me sleep for a while. Sorry, I'm too long-winded. I'll go to the supermarket at the gas station to see what you need. Oh yes, you need clothes. I'll buy you a pair of underwear. Charlotte was speechless. The long-winded driver got out of the car and went to the supermarket at the gas station. Charlotte finally had some peace. The scene in Da Vinci's secret laboratory appeared in his mind. The silver medal, Da Vinci's notebook, and the painting of the starry sky with mysterious minerals. When I first came into contact with Princess Yongmei, she could only speak 2 or 3 sentences. It was like an incomplete videotape. Later, as I collected more and more ancient alloy, she became more and more complete. From the beginning, she could only speak a few words. Now, she has independent thinking and a little temper. I always thought that her lack and completeness were related to the ancient alloy box. As long as I collected all the ancient alloy parts, she would become complete. But when I was in the labyrinth, she seemed to be complete. Could it be that her lack and completeness had nothing to do with the ancient alloy? It's not like that. She was originally trapped in the ancient alloy. I could see through the ancient alloy to release her. Every time I found a new ancient alloy part, she would appear more complete than the previous time. She is an energy mentality. If I liken her to a certain amount of electricity, then she can be stored in different batteries, and the ancient alloy parts are those batteries. She existed for some time. When she fought with the Japanese Navy, she used up a lot of energy. After that, she went into hibernation. She sent a message to me through Serenity, asking me to wake her up. That painting is the key to her existence. Are those sparkling things really minerals? Or could it be that those sparkling things were her body? Those things eventually disappeared. If they were minerals, how could they disappear into thin air? Also, she gave Da Vinci a piece of silver metal. Da Vinci said he had studied it, but why didn't he leave any relevant research records? This is not Da Vinci's style. He would leave notes when he studied the human body. How could he not leave relevant records when he studied that piece of metal? The back of the notebook is all blank paper. Could it be that there is some kind of article inside? Question after question filled Charlotte's mind. He thought about these questions, but his thoughts became more and more chaotic. My friend, haha, look what I bought for you. The door opened and the French driver climbed out. He raised his hand, holding a red underwear. Chinese people like red. Look, I bought you a red underwear. Do you like it? Charlotte's gaze moved to the underwear in the driver's hand, and he was speechless. The underwear in the French driver's hand had the Made in China logo on it. Obviously, it was made in China. But that was not what made Charlotte speechless. What made him speechless was that the underwear the guy bought for him was for a woman. There was a peony flower print on it. If he wore such underwear and made out with Long Bing would probably strangle him to death. Do you like it? The French driver had a fawning smile on his face. Charlotte forced a smile on his face. I like it. Thank you. Then put it on. The driver tossed the peony underwear to Charlotte and then said with a smile, I won't peek at you. I'm not gay. Charlotte was speechless. A few minutes later, 2 helicopters appeared in the sky. One was a Eurocopter of the National Gendarmerie, and the other was an NH-90 transport plane. The Eurocopter was loaded with dazzling weapons, anti-ground missiles, machine guns, and so on. The NH-90 transport plane was filled with agents from the French Directorate General of Security, as well as the elite special forces of the National Gendarmerie. This scene was only to welcome Charlotte. The Eurocopter hovered in the sky, monitoring the appearance and ready to strike any suspicious target. The NH-90 transport plane landed on an empty space next to the gas station. Agents and special forces armed to the teeth jumped out of the transport plane, and soon, the entire gas station and the surrounding area were locked down and controlled. Jacqueline Eva walked to the van parked next to the gas station. The driver who called Jacqueline Eva stared at the scene with his mouth agape. "You're the driver?" Jacqueline Eva asked. The driver came back to his senses. He seemed to be speechless and just nodded. Jacqueline Eva threw a bulging envelope at the driver's hand. She was too lazy to talk to him. She walked straight to the van. "He's in the van." The driver came back to his senses. "Who is he? The Prince of China?" Jacqueline opened the car door for Eva. She saw Charlie. In her eyes, Charlotte was no longer the handsome chairman of the Rema Group. He was dirty, covered in wounds and blood. He looked like a refugee who had just been smuggled over, the kind who had just been robbed. However, when she confirmed that it was Charlotte, she let out a long sigh of relief and relaxed her tense nerve. Charlotte opened his eyes and looked at Jacqueline Eva. He looked very weak. "What's going on?" Jacqueline Eva saw the blood on Charlotte's body, as well as the large and small abrasions. "They took off all my clothes and stuffed me into the trunk of a car," Gun Yenji said with a sigh. Charlotte said weakly, "I untied the rope and jumped out of the car. As you can see, I'm terrible." "That's it?" Jacqueline Eva couldn't believe that Charlotte escaped from a few FA organization agents so easily. Charlotte spread his hands. "Do you want me to get shot? Take me out of here. I want to take a bath and then eat." "Can you still walk?" "It's a little difficult." Charlotte struggled to get up. "Forget it, let me carry you." Jacqueline Eva stretched out her hand. A minute later, a 1.92-meter tall blonde walked to the NH-90 plane with a dirty Chinese man in her arms. The peony underwear on the Chinese man became the most eye-catching thing. The scene was too beautiful to look at. Chapter 711. The NH-90 transport plane sent Charlotte to a private hospital in Paris. The doctor checked Charlotte's body. There were no major problems, but Charlotte was hospitalized for observation for a day. Charlotte gladly agreed. He treated the hospital like a hotel, and the first thing he did after being hospitalized was to take a shower. A nurse was waiting in the ward for Charlotte to come out of the shower before cleaning his wounds. Jacqueline Eva walked in and didn't say anything. She only pointed in the direction of the door to the nurse. The nurse stared at Jacqueline Eva with some dissatisfaction, but still left the ward. She wanted to clean Charlotte's wounds, but she also knew that she couldn't afford to offend a woman like Jacqueline Eva. Jacqueline Eva took a bath towel and walked to the bathroom. The sound of water splashing could be heard in the bathroom. She couldn't see Charlotte, but she knew that he was in there. She couldn't help but think about what happened in that room that night, until the 3 masked men barged into the room. "Those 3 masked men took care of 2 of my subordinates and 2 special forces soldiers from the military police. Those 3 people were very powerful. Those 3 people planned that carefully, but Charlotte solved the problem by jumping out of the car. Isn't that a little too simple?" She had some doubts in her heart. In the bathroom, the warm water splashed on his body, and the dozens of wounds on his body burned with pain. Charlotte opened his mouth and muttered, "That girl Amanda, I didn't offend her, did I? I asked her to make some wounds, and she really threw rocks at me and whipped me with a tree branch. Of course, a wound like that needed to be thrown with rocks and whipped with a tree branch. In order to hide from Jacqueline Eva's eyes, Amanda definitely had to be ruthless." Footsteps came from outside the bathroom door. The footsteps were light and slow, giving people a feeling that they were quietly approaching. Charlotte shifted his gaze. His left eye twitched slightly and he saw Jacqueline Eva. She was holding a bath towel in her hand. However, the towel in her hand was obviously unnecessary because he had brought a towel into the bathroom. "She's here. Is she here to ask me about how I escaped, or is there something else?" A wry smile appeared in the corners of Xiaolei's lips. When he left Italy, he could have just returned home. Returning to China was the safest choice, but it wasn't the wisest choice. There were 2 reasons why he chose to return to France. The first reason was that he was kidnapped in France. The French intelligence agents were looking for him all over the world, but he inexplicably appeared in China. France would definitely send someone to China to inquire about the situation. At that time, he would not only have to face the French, but also some people in China. He didn't want anyone to know what had happened in France and Italy. The second reason was the International Army Weapons Exhibition in France. If Thunder Horse Military Factory wanted to leave China and become the most powerful military factory in the world, this step was essential. The International Armaments Exhibition in France is the largest armaments exhibition in the world. It is the best stage. He wanted to conquer this stage. He wanted to release a signal to the world of armaments. Rema Group is here. Whether it was for his own reasons or for Rema Group's future, he had to come to France. Outside the door, Jacqueline Eva shook her head gently, then walked to the bathroom door. She knocked on the door. "Mr. Xia, I brought you a bath towel." "That," Charlotte said a little awkwardly, "I brought a bath towel in." Jacqueline Eva said, "I know. However, the bath towels in the hospital are shared and unhygienic. I brought you a new towel." Charlotte was speechless. Jacqueline Eva suddenly reached out and pushed the door open. Xia Lei let out a cry of surprise and reached out to cover his private parts. Jacqueline Eva calmly entered the bathroom and took down the bath towel that Charlotte had hung on the wall. Then, she hung the bath towel she brought on top of it. "I've seen it before." Jacqueline Eva stared straight at Charlotte. "So you don't have to cover it up." Charlotte didn't know what to say. "Hurry up and wash up. After you're done, I'll help you deal with the wounds on your body." "You'll help me deal with them?" "Yes, the nurses and doctors are off work," Jacqueline Eva said. She didn't show any signs of leaving the bathroom immediately. Charlotte smiled bitterly. "I can't shower with you looking at me like that." Jacqueline Eva then turned and left. A few minutes later, Charlotte walked out of the bathroom wrapped in a bath towel. He saw Jacqueline Eva standing beside his bed. She was wearing a white short-sleeved shirt, a black miniskirt, and a medical tool cart beside her. The scene looked like a nurse from the Diablo series. This scene made him slightly nervous, because he knew very well that she wasn't a nurse. That bed would also become a battlefield between agents. The ace agent of China's 101 Bureau versus the ace agent of France's National Security Bureau. However, this was a battle without gunpowder. Jacqueline Eva picked up a bottle of hydrogen peroxide and waved at Charlotte. Charlotte walked over and braced himself. "Are you really going to help me deal with my wounds? I feel that it's better to let a professional handle it. You can help me call a doctor or a nurse." "The doctors and nurses are off work." Jacqueline Eva smiled. "Don't worry, I've received professional training. I'll make you feel very comfortable." How could dealing with wounds be described as comfortable? No matter what, he had to face what he had to face. Charlotte climbed onto the bed and lay on the blanket, exposing his entire back in front of Jacqueline Eva. "I'll leave it to you," Charlotte said. Jacqueline Eva suddenly took off her high heels and climbed onto the bed as well. Charlotte said nervously, "What do you want to do?" Jacqueline Eva grabbed his bath towel. With a wave of her hand, it flew away like a white butterfly. This was Jacqueline Eva's answer. Charlotte resisted the urge to flip over, press her under him, and harshly ravage her. However, Jacqueline Eva pulled up her short skirt and rode on Charlotte's butt. She said seriously, "Don't mind me. I'm doing this so that I can better deal with your wounds." Charlotte smiled bitterly. "How can there be someone like you?" Puff puff. Without waiting for Charlotte to finish his sentence, Jacqueline Eva started spraying hydrogen peroxide on the wound on Charlotte's back. A burning pain came, and it was so painful that Charlotte couldn't stop sucking in cold air. However, it wasn't just the burning pain brought by the hydrogen peroxide. There were other feelings as well. Jacqueline Eva straddled his buttocks, her thighs, her soft parts pressed tightly against his buttocks. It felt as if a magnetic bomb had been applied to his buttock. It made him feel uncomfortable and hot. Puff puff, puff puff, After spraying the hydrogen peroxide, Jacqueline Eva picked up a pair of tweezers from the medical tool cart and used a cotton ball to wipe Charlotte's wounds. Charlotte lay on the bed obediently, but Jacqueline Eva wasn't obedient at all. She moved around and continuously stimulated him. Luckily, this bed wasn't made of chocolate or cheese. Otherwise, there would be a deep hole in it right now. Mr. Xia, did you really jump out of the car and escape? Jacqueline Eva probed. Did no one help you? This question was also a signal. The battle had begun. Charlotte endured the stimulation that Jacqueline Eva gave him and said slowly, "The only person who helped me was that driver. I think he was called Ravado or something. You can go and check his background. Oh right, I will return the 10,000 euros to you. Don't misunderstand. I'm not asking you for money. However, if you want to return it, I won't object. Yes, I know you are very curious about the situation back then. Other than using luck to describe it, I can't find any other suitable words to describe it. Tell me about it. That night in your room, I don't know what happened, but I felt dizzy. I don't remember what happened. When I woke up, I found that I was locked up in a basement. Those 3 people tied me up and stripped me naked. I heard some of their conversations. They said that Paris had been sealed off and that they couldn't leave immediately. Thus, they locked me up for 2 days. Then, on the night of the 3rd day, they stuffed me into the trunk of a car. During those 2 days, they didn't give me food or water. I simply pretended to be dehydrated and very weak. I looked terrible, so they let down their guard against me. One of the 3 was driving, while the other 2 were sleeping. I slowly untied the ropes on my body and waited for a chance to escape. Then, I heard a very loud sound of water. The sound reminded me of the Seine River. In fact, that was the Seine River. I knew very well what I had to do. I only had one chance. I opened the trunk of the car and jumped out. I fell very badly, but I couldn't care less. As soon as I jumped out of the car, the guy driving found me. He stepped on the brakes, and his companions woke up. I didn't dare to delay. I got up from the road and jumped into the Seine River. They chased me to the river and shot at the river. At that time, the bullets flew past me. I thought that I would be hit and drown in the river. However, Lady Luck favored me. Those bullets didn't hit me. I held my breath and dived downstream. Later, I climbed ashore. I was too tired and fainted until a driver found me. You already know what happened after that, so I won't say it. He already knew that Jacqueline Eva wouldn't be satisfied with a simple explanation, so he had prepared this story for her. This story was very interesting. It could almost be made into a movie. It's my fault. I didn't protect you well and let you suffer such a thing, Jacqueline Eva said apologetically. Judging from Jacqueline Eva's reaction, Charlotte knew that he had more or less passed the test. He also let out a sigh of relief in his heart. However, even if she didn't believe him, what could she do? He was already giving her face by being willing to explain to her. If he didn't say anything, she couldn't do anything to him. It's not your fault. You don't have to apologize, Charlotte said. Do you know why they kidnapped you? Charlotte shook his head. They didn't say, but I think it was for money or for my skills. Other than these 2, what else could it be? Okay, Jacqueline Eva said. It's done. Thank you. Charlotte lay down and didn't move. Jacqueline Eva got up from Charlotte's body. However, just when Charlotte thought that she was going to get off the bed, she suddenly reached under his abdomen and flipped him over. You! Charlotte hurriedly reached out to grab something that could be used as a cover, but he realized gloomily that there was nothing within a 2-meter radius of him. Jacqueline Eva reached out and pressed on Charlotte's chest. She looked very serious. I mean that the wound at the back has been treated, but the front hasn't. Don't move. I'm going to treat the wound at the front. Also, don't cover it. You can't cover it, so why bother? Charlotte was speechless. Chapter 7:12. One day later, Charlotte left the hospital. Jacqueline Eva drove Charlotte back to the Star of Paris Hotel. Charlotte saw more French special forces and people from the French intelligence department. Even the head of a country would not be able to handle such a standard of security measures. In the face of such an exaggerated scene, Charlotte knew the French government's determination to get his technology. During his stay in the hospital for a day, Xia Lei thought about the cooperation with the French government over and over again. Since he could cooperate with the Germans, why couldn't he cooperate with the French? He had already exchanged for the engine technology of the Rafale fighter and the technology of the German conventional submarine. This was purely a contribution to the country. He did not get any benefits. Why not think about himself now? Rema Group was still carrying a loan of more than 20 billion. This loan was like a mountain on Rema Group. It restricted the development of the group and made it difficult for him to use his hands and feet. But the French had given him a chance to make this loan disappear. As long as he grasped this opportunity, he could turn it into a reality. While standing in the elevator waiting for the elevator, a middle-aged woman walked by. She was dragging a large suitcase. But just when Charlotte thought she was also a guest staying in this hotel, the middle-aged woman handed the suitcase in her hand to Jacqueline and then turned to leave without saying anything. Charlotte looked at the suitcase in Jacqueline Eva's hand and then at Jacqueline Eva. "What's going on? Isn't it obvious?" Jacqueline Eva said with a smile. "I dare not make any mistakes after what happened last time. I have decided that I will live with you and protect you 24/7. Wait, do you mean live with me? Charlotte asked seriously. Jacqueline Eva also looked very serious. The room you live in is provided by the French government. It is a presidential suite. Don't you think it is a waste to live in such a big room alone? No, I mean, ding dong, the elevator door opened. The elevator is here. Let's go up. Jacqueline Eva didn't seem to want to argue with him on this issue. Xia Lei shrugged, speechless, and then entered the elevator. He was a little surprised that Jacqueline Eva had moved in with him, but not too surprised. The French government had always used her as a surprise weapon, using beauty and a trap to achieve their goal with the least cost. And it wasn't the first time they'd done this. That night, Jacqueline Eva had already prepared the contract for him. He would not sign it, of course, but that did not prevent the French government from continuing to do so. As the elevator went up, a faint scent of perfume filled the air. It was Mary's Desire. She was very familiar with the scent of this perfume. But this time, there seemed to be no medicine added, so it didn't affect him much. Oh, I almost forgot. I promised to give you Mary's Desire. I should have given it to you last time, but I didn't expect something to happen that night. Jacqueline Eva said apologetically, but it doesn't matter. I'll have someone send it over tonight. Charlotte smiled. Thank you. But in his heart, he said, if it's sent over tonight, it will probably be drugged, right? You want to use a woman to exchange for my skills? Do you think I am a man who has just been released from prison? I am not that thirsty yet. If you want my skills, then you have to pay the corresponding price. Mr. Xia, what are you thinking about? Jacqueline Eva asked tentatively. I'm thinking about the weapons exhibition. Don't worry, you will succeed. Charlotte smiled and didn't say anything. Jacqueline Eva really did live in Charlotte's room. There were 3 rooms in this presidential suite, and she only chose the room next to Charlotte's. Jacqueline Eva was in her room, packing her luggage. Charlotte peeked through the wall next door. He saw Jacqueline Eva take out one thing after another from her suitcase. Panties that looked like ropes, a bra that was 60% transparent, and a French-made version of the contraceptive pill. A whole version of the contraceptive pill. This shocked Charlotte. What is she doing with this? And it's a whole page? Does she want to finish it with me? Wearing condoms seemed to be outdated, and the contraceptive pill was the mainstream fashion in Paris. But a whole page, wasn't it a little too exaggerated? For the national interest of France, The ace agent of the French General Directorate of National Security really went all out. When Charlotte saw the contraceptive pill, Jacqueline Eva took it out and swallowed it. That kind of contraceptive pill obviously had to be taken in advance to be effective, but she didn't even drink water. It was like she was eating candy, and she was very generous. Then, Jacqueline Eva took out a pistol from her suitcase, checked the magazine, opened the safety, and put it under the bed. Charlotte wasn't surprised at all by this gun. At this time, Jacqueline Eva took out a makeup box from her suitcase. Charlotte couldn't help but smile bitterly. She really plans to stay here for a long time. But at this moment, Jacqueline Eva opened the makeup box, removed the foam inside, and gently pressed the switch hidden under the box. Then she stuffed the foam back, placed the makeup box on the bedside table, and adjusted its position. Charlotte suddenly understood. So it's a monitoring device. I ruined the last film. Do you want to reshoot this time? There were footsteps outside the door. Charlotte looked over and saw Qin Kaiwe standing at the door. Qin Kaiwe reached out and knocked on the door. Chairman Xia, are you there? Charlotte saw Jacqueline Eva walk to the door of her room quietly, carefully listening to the movement outside. Her cautious look amused Xia Lei. It was really interesting to see an agent engaged in espionage activities with his penetrating eyes. Charlotte withdrew his gaze and got up to open the door for Qin Kaiwe. Chairman Xia. Qin Kaiwe entered the door and said worriedly, "Where have you been? I've been worried about you." Charlotte smiled. The French president invited me to his resort for a vacation. I couldn't refuse, so I just went to socialize. Qin Kaiwe suddenly opened her mouth wide and couldn't close it. If other men said such things in front of her, she would be dismissive and might even kick them. But such words from Charlotte's mouth had a different meaning. It was said that the French president invited Charlotte for a vacation. Even if Charlotte said that the French president's daughter invited him to the resort for a vacation, she would believe it. Bragging, in fact, was also a world that depended on appearances. What's so surprising about it? Charlotte said with a smile. I fell at the resort, and the French president's wife applied medicine on me. Now I'm finally better. Qin Kaiwe, well, let's not talk about the vacation. Charlotte changed the topic. How's the decoration of our exhibition hall? Almost. I was there just now, and the people from the decoration company were working there. I heard that you were back, so I rushed back to see you. Qin Kaiwe patted her towering chest. I've been really worried these days. Aren't I back now? Go to the exhibition hall and take a look. The French are very lazy, so you have to hurry them. Chairman Xia, don't worry. Let me see your wound. Maybe you need to change the medicine. Qin Kaiwe looked very enthusiastic. Knock, knock, knock. After the knock, Jacqueline Eva's voice came from outside the door. Mr. Xia, is there a guest? After that, she directly pushed the door and walked in without waiting for Charlotte to open the door for her. Qin Kaiwe stared at Jacqueline Eva with some dissatisfaction. Charlotte said, My secretary, Qin Kaiwe. Jacqueline Eva said, I know. However, I will send someone to guard the door later. Miss Qin, you need to get permission to enter in the future. Why? Qin Kaiwe's French wasn't fake, and her anger couldn't be concealed. Jacqueline Eva shrugged. Sorry, I'm also on a mission. Chairman Xia, she. Qin Kaiwe looked at Charlotte with grievance. Charlotte moved closer to her ear. This hotel is full of intelligence agents and agents sent by the French government. Don't get into trouble. The weapons exhibition is what we should worry about. Go, when it's done, I'll celebrate for you. Hearing Charlotte's words, the anger in Qin Kaiwe's heart subsided. She nodded. Well, then I'll go to the exhibition hall. Go, call me if you need anything, Charlotte said. After Qin Kaiwe left, Jacqueline Eva said, Mr. Xia, your secretary is really good. Yes, she's very capable, Charlotte said. Jacqueline Eva smiled. I'm talking about her figure and face. Charlotte didn't know how to continue the conversation. I'm going back to my room to take a shower. Jacqueline Eva winked at Charlotte with her sapphire eyes. Do you want to come with me? Charlotte shook his head vigorously. Giggle. Jacqueline Eva left with a string of laughter, swaying her slender waist and hips as she left. She was already preparing for tonight's war. Not knowing why, Charlotte's heart was somewhat looking forward to it. After Jacqueline Eva left, Charlotte sat alone on the sofa and quietly thought about things. Ring ring ring, ring ring ring, his cell phone suddenly rang. Charlotte answered the phone and didn't say anything. He just hummed. Yelena's voice came from the phone. Boss, I've returned to China. The things you gave me have been safely brought back to China. Do you want to put them with me or at your house? Charlotte lowered his voice. Give them to my dad. Do I still need to come back? No. Charlotte didn't say much and hung up the phone. The things Yelena brought back to China were all things he took out from the labyrinth. Several paintings and manuscripts by Da Vinci, the silver medal, and Da Vinci's notebook. He didn't believe that the notebook left by Da Vinci had no content. However, even if he wanted to study it, he could only do it after returning to China. After ending the call with Yelena, Charlotte got up and went into the bathroom. Then he took out another satellite phone and dialed a number. You're so heartless. Finally willing to call me? A charming voice came from the satellite phone. Fan, I want to talk to you. Talk about French women or French perfume. Stop it. I'm talking to you about something serious. I thought so too. Go ahead. Charlotte was silent for a moment before he said, The French government wants my technology. I thought that since I made a deal with the Germans, why can't I make a deal with the French? It's not worth it to only sell the same thing once. A deal with the French? France is the little brother of the UA, similar to the United Kingdom. Does France dare to bypass the UA to make a deal with us? I've been observing for a while now. I'm sure they are sincere. Although France is the little brother of the UA, as long as there are enough benefits, their first consideration isn't the feelings of the UA, but their own benefit. I can't make the decision for such a big deal. I'm not asking you to make the decision. You just need to explain this to the higher-ups. Tell the higher-ups that this deal won't be the same as the German deal, which needs to be done in secret. I need enough authority to deal with this matter, but I promise I'll bring back benefits no less than what we got from the Germans. Okay, I'll report to the higher-ups. This is my gift to you for becoming the director of the ZN Bureau. That's quite a big gift from you. But I want you more. I haven't been with you for such a long time. I miss you so much. Fanfan's voice was soft and sweet. When are you coming back? I'll make you delicious food. Charlotte decisively hung up the phone. Chapter 7:13. The night came unexpectedly. Under the candlelight there was red wine, delicious food, and a woman sitting under the candlelight, as well as the familiar smell of perfume. The romance of Paris was back, and Xia Lei felt like he was intoxicated instead of intoxicated by alcohol. Jacqueline Eva had obviously dressed up tonight. She was wearing a Louis Vuitton dress, red, simple and beautiful. The soft fabric clung to her skin, outlining her beautiful figure. She was curvaceous, and her long legs were alluring. Not only her curves, but also her shoulders, deep V and vacuum. She was actually 30% transparent under the candlelight. The two bumps were like two pink chocolate beans. They were faintly revealed, giving off a sense of mystery and temptation. Charlotte quietly enjoyed French red wine, French food, and French beauties. How many nights like this could he have in his life? Mr. Xia. Jacqueline Eva broke the quiet atmosphere of the meal. Tell me, what do you want? Xia Lei's lips curled into a smile. What are you referring to? You know what I'm talking about. I'm very satisfied now. I don't want anything in particular, Charlotte said. The more she wanted to get to the point, the more he wanted to keep her in suspense. All right. Jacqueline Eva smirked. Then I'll get straight to the point. I want to know what you want in this deal. Charlotte just looked at Jacqueline Eva and didn't say what he was thinking. You know, I'm in charge of this. The people from the weapons and equipment department want to know what you want. Just treat it as helping me complete a mission, okay? Jacqueline Eva's hand reached out from the dining table and grabbed Xia Lei's hand. Her hand was soft, warm, and delicate. Ambiguous movements, eager eyes. A woman's body was really the most powerful weapon against a man. It was impossible to calculate how many men had fallen into the traps that women had dug for them, because such things were happening all the time. Do we have to talk now? Then when do you want to talk? Under the table, Jacqueline Eva's left foot was released from the high heel. Her long leg in black stockings quietly crossed the distance between her and Charlotte, landed on Charlotte's calf, and then slowly climbed up. Charlotte's nerves suddenly tightened, like a drawn bow. The black stocking climbed to his knee and continued to move forward. It was an explorer, brave and fearless, and finally climbed to the end of the volcano. Charlotte's bow was pulled to the full in the blink of an eye, and the arrow was also on the string, ready to be released at any time. Well, Charlotte finally said, I said before, the avionics system of the Charles de Gaulle aircraft carrier. How much do you know about the avionics system of the Charles de Gaulle aircraft carrier? Jacqueline Eva stared at Charlotte. Charlotte smiled. The Charles de Gaulle aircraft carrier uses the French Thomson CSF's new Senate 8 combat system, which uses 8 computers as the core and has 25 display consoles with various functions. It can track 2,000 targets at the same time and automatically connect all detection equipment and armed forces for combat. This system can transmit data to more than 50 air, surface, and land-friendly units in a timely manner at the same time, and can effectively serve as the combat management center of the entire combat operation. In terms of detection and electronic systems, it uses the Thomson CSF Long-Range Air Search Radar, a Thomson CSF DRBV-15CC Tiger E/F Frequency Plane Search Radar, 2 Rika and Vampire infrared detection systems. The electronic warfare equipment on the ship includes 2 sets of electronic countermeasures provided by Thomson, which is sufficient for modern electronic warfare. Jacqueline and Eva stared at Charlie, dumbfounded. Charlotte said, Of course, I only said part of it. The avionics system of an aircraft carrier is very complicated. However, we don't need the power system of the Charles de Gaulle aircraft carrier. The power system is its defect. We can make better ones ourselves. Mr. Xia, it's not that I look down on the strength of China, but with your current level, can you make a more advanced power system than the Charles de Gaulle aircraft carrier? I don't think it's realistic, Jacqueline Eva said. In the face of Jacqueline Eva's doubts, Charlotte was not angry, and he still maintained a faint smile on his face. Then do you think our current level is still in the era of making socks and shirts? If that's the case, then why are you still trading with me? Jacqueline Eva realized that she had said the wrong thing and hurriedly said, Mr. Xia, I didn't mean that, don't misunderstand. Charlotte just smiled. The Western world had always been biased against China and even discriminated against it. This concept was deeply rooted and difficult to eliminate. Jacqueline Eva, who needed his help, was like this, let alone those who had nothing to do with China. However, he disdained to change some people's minds, and even more disdained to please them to gain their favor. What he wanted to do was to slap these people in the face with practical actions. Mr. Xia, I'll tell you the truth. Last time you mentioned the avionics system of the Charles de Gaulle aircraft carrier, I reported it to the top. They gave me a very clear answer. This is not possible, so... Jacqueline Eva spoke with her feet. Give me another option. Why not? The aircraft carrier is the most powerful existence in the world of weapons. You want to use machine tool technology and light weapon technology to exchange for aircraft carrier technology. Do you think it's appropriate? Then what technology are you going to use in exchange? Well, the top wants to use the avionics technology of the Tiger helicopter in exchange. What do you think? Hee hee. Charlotte spread his hands. Then there's nothing to talk about. Our helicopter 10 is not worse than your Tiger helicopter. You want to use technology we don't need to exchange for technology you need. How can there be such a good business? Mr. Xia. Jacqueline Eva continued to speak with her feet. Actually, we can also add some civilian technology. Money is also fine. Can you please take your feet away? Charlotte said. Both Jacqueline and Eva were stunned. She thought that by controlling a certain part of Charlotte's body, she could influence Charlotte's mind and influence his decision. But now it seemed that her efforts were useless. She didn't know if she should take her feet back or continue to carry out the task, which made her feel awkward. Ring ring ring, ring ring ring, his cell phone rang. Sorry, I have to take this call. Charlotte got up and left the dining table, walking to the balcony. The phone call was from Fanfan. I've already reported to the top, and they agreed. They can give you the authority you want. It was Fanfan's voice. Charlotte was not surprised at this result. Since he could trade with the Germans, he could also trade with the French. As long as he could make the country stronger and rise quickly, it didn't matter who he traded with. Did they specify what technology you want to exchange? What technology can you exchange for? I want to exchange for the avionics technology of their Charles de Gaulle aircraft carrier, but it's a bit difficult. The French are very smart. They are only willing to exchange the avionics technology of the Eurocopter. Charlotte looked back at Jacqueline Eva, who was sitting at the dining table on the phone. Their eyes met in the air, and then they looked at each other and smiled. You really have a big appetite. The top didn't expect you to exchange for that technology. They want the avionics system and stealth technology of the French Rafale. The stealth performance of the Rafale is second only to the American F-22, and better than the German Typhoon. If you can get your hands on the Rafale's avionics and stealth technology, coupled with the Typhoon engine technology, we'll be able to piece together an advanced fighter jet that's comparable to the Western world, Fanfan said. It was indeed unrealistic to exchange for the aircraft carrier technology, but if it was the avionics and stealth technology of the Rafale, Charlotte was very confident in his heart. His face also showed a smile. With instructions, it will be easy. But you have to remember, the relationship between France and the United States is very special. You have to be careful, don't be cheated by the French. I will be careful. If you can get this done, it'll be a big achievement for me. The higher-ups want you to get your hands on the Rafale's avionics and stealth technology. They'll also give you a big credit. Fanfan's laughter came from the satellite phone. I don't want any credit. Then what do you want? This time I have a request. What request? My request is very simple. Charlotte hesitated. Waive all my loans. You want money? Fanfan's voice was with a hint of surprise. I always thought you were a pure person, a person free from vulgar tastes. Screw you, this is my only request. You go and talk to the top. I have done so many things in exchange for so many technologies, but I got nothing. This time, I won't do it for free. I want my loans to be waived. That's more than 20 billion. Fanfan was very clear about the amount of loans Rema Group had. Charlotte said lightly, now in the capital, a real estate is worth billions, right? If it's a gold port, it will be more than this number. Can't the things I got in exchange even compare to the value of a real estate? Besides, I'm not greedy for money. If I wanted money, I would have asked for it. This time I came to France, I was very touched. Although Rema Group has made some achievements, it is still far behind those international arms giant. I want to surpass them. I have to get rid of the burden on me. After my loans are waived, I can invest all the money in Rema Group. I want it to run and catch up. Fanfan was silent for a moment, then said, well, I will pass on your words to the top. If you put it this way, I think there will be no problem. Some scientific and technological projects have always been supported by the national team, giving funds and preferential policies. You have a lot of money, but you are worth it. That's it. Wait for my good news, Charlotte said and then hung up. Jacqueline also put away her phone and looked at Charlotte, who returned from the balcony with a smile. Who called? My chief engineer. We talked about the domestic company. Charlotte sat back in his seat. Who did you call? Oh, a subordinate. I asked him to bring the perfume you wanted. Jacqueline said. Ding dong, ding dong. As soon as Jacqueline and Eva finished speaking, the doorbell rang. I'll go open the door. Jacqueline didn't wait for Charlotte to get up, she got up and walked to the door. Before Jacqueline opened the door, Charlotte saw a blond man standing at the door. He was holding a box in his hand, but he had a gun on him. The person at the door was obviously an agent of the French General Directorate of Security. Jacqueline opened the door, took the box, then said thank you and closed the door. Mary's desire came. The battle between the ace agent of 101 innings and the ace agent of the French General Directorate of Security was about to begin. This time there wouldn't be 3 masked men. Chapter 7:14. Why are you being so polite? Charlotte said with a smile. I was just saying it casually back then. You really don't have to be so polite. Follow me. Jacqueline Eva didn't seem to want to talk nonsense with Charlotte anymore. She walked straight to her room. What are you doing? Charlotte asked, even though he already knew the answer. Jacqueline Eva looked back and smiled. She reached out her hand and waved at Charlotte. This action was more convincing than words. Charlotte got up and followed her to her room. Jacqueline Eva entered the room and opened the perfume box. There were 6 bottles of perfume in the box. One of the bottles had its cap open, giving off a strong perfume smell. You're so useless. You can't even do such a small thing. Jacqueline Eva frowned and complained about the person who gave her the perfume. Charlotte stood at the door. He only looked and didn't enter. At the same time, he adjusted his breathing to the lowest frequency possible. But it's okay. Its smell makes people feel very comfortable. Don't you think so, Mr. Xia? Jacqueline Eva looked straight at Charlotte with a charming smile on her face. Under the light, the visual effect of the vacuum was even more obvious. Her full breasts, slender waist, and peach-like butt. Her curves could make people's noses bleed. Together with the hazy secret scenery, the lethality of her beauty was even stronger. If it were any other man, they might have already pounced on her. However, Charlotte still stood at the door and didn't move. If he knew that it was a trap, he would be an idiot if he still jumped in. Jacqueline Eva shrugged. Do you plan to keep standing at the door? Charlotte nodded. I'm afraid that I won't be able to control myself after coming in. Can't control what? Do something to you. Jacqueline Eva chuckled. You can do whatever you want. Why do you have to control yourself? Charlotte still didn't move. No matter how you seduce me, I won't move. Jacqueline Eva couldn't help but want to take off her high heels and smash Charlotte's head on his head. Her lips moved as if she wanted to say something, but in the end she chose not to. She touched her forehead and softly said, My head is so dizzy. I must have drunk too much. Then, her legs wobbled and she couldn't stand properly. She softly fell onto the bed. With one foot on the bed and the other on the ground, the seductive scenery was exposed from the 45-degree space between her legs. The lethality of vacuum was instantly raised to the extreme. Charlotte still did not move. Jacqueline Eva glanced at Xia Lei out of the corner of her eye. Xia Lei's reaction made her so depressed that she wanted to die. However, she still persisted for 2 minutes. After 2 minutes, she couldn't take it anymore. She rolled out of bed. Do you really want me to come over and pull you up? Charlotte faintly said, There's a hypnotic drug in your perfume. The hypnosis I'm talking about isn't the hypnosis that makes people sleep, but the hypnosis of hypnosis. Also, the makeup box you put on the bedside table is equipped with a camera and a bug. I'm not an actor in that kind of movie, so I'll pass. You know all about it. The seductive look on Jacqueline Eva's face instantly disappeared. Her lustful gaze also became clear and sharp. I've jumped into the same trap twice. You can't expect me to jump into it a third time, right? Jacqueline Eva was instantly stunned. She had indeed used Mary's desire on Charlotte twice. The first time was when she sent Charlotte to the Louvre Museum. The second time was on the night Charlotte was kidnapped. Now it was the third time, but Charlotte actually didn't fall for it this time. How could she carry out a plan that had already been made? You can continue to act, but I'll just stand here and watch, Charlotte said. Jacqueline Eva was speechless. Or you can put away all those things and we can have a good talk, Charlotte said. Jacqueline Eva shrugged her shoulders awkwardly, then got down from the bed to deal with the spy equipment in the room. She couldn't understand why Charlotte was so clear about her situation, but she also understood that even if she asked Charlotte, Charlotte wouldn't tell her. A few minutes later, Charlotte walked into Jacqueline Eva's room. He first opened the window to let the fresh air in, then sat on the sofa. Jacqueline Eva sat opposite Charlotte. Okay, let's have a good talk. I'll be frank. Your conditions are too high, and we can't satisfy you. The aircraft carrier is the ultimate weapon, and its technology will definitely not be given to you. You also have to understand that if Marika finds out, we will face very serious consequences. I understand, Charlotte said, so I'm willing to take a step back. I'll use the Thunder Dragon Intelligent Lathe, the XL 2500 Sniper Rifle, and the Gust Assault Rifle production line in exchange for the avionics technology and stealth technology of your Eurofighter Typhoon. How can this be? One is light weapons technology, and the other is fighter jet technology, especially the stealth technology of our Eurofighter Typhoon. In this world, only Marika's stealth technology is better than ours, and no other country can surpass us. In other words, you're using light weapons technology in exchange for the second best fighter jet stealth technology in the world. Is this appropriate? I think it's very appropriate. The XL 2500 Sniper Rifle is the best sniper rifle in the world, and the Gust Assault Rifle is the best assault rifle in the world. Wars aren't all fought by planes, right? The most important thing is still people. I know that France has been unable to leave the battlefield in Africa. You want to win the battle, but you don't want people to die. With my weapon, the French soldiers are all first-class snipers, and you can win the battle without coming into contact with the enemy. I'm using the best light weapons technology in the world to exchange for your avionics technology and stealth technology. Do you still think you're losing out? Mr. Xia, it's not what you're saying, but Xia Lei interrupted Jacqueline Eva's words. Miss Eva, it's better if you change the person in charge to talk to me. I know what role you're playing in this matter, and even if I talk to you until dawn, there won't be any results. Mr. Xia, are you looking down on me? Jacqueline Eva's face had a hint of displeasure. Charlotte didn't care about her feelings. In fact, the French's cunning and shrewdness made him feel disgusted. For the same technology, he exchanged for the Eurofighter Typhoon engine technology and even some conventional submarine technology from Germany. In this aspect, the Germans were obviously more generous, and they also understood the value of the Thunder Dragon Intelligent Lathe, the XL 2500 Sniper Rifle, and the Gust Assault Rifle production line. The French obviously wanted them, but they were worried about Marika's feelings. At the same time, they kept lowering the price, and even wanted to use a woman and some rubbish technology to achieve their goal. He had enough of this. Jacqueline Eva didn't know what Charlotte was thinking at this moment. She continued, Mr. Xia, do you still not understand? The relationship between Germany and Marika is different from the relationship between France and Marika. When have you ever seen Germany send troops to war for Marika? Charlotte said calmly, I'm not interested in politics, I'm only interested in business. You should change the person in charge. I am the one in charge, Jacqueline Eva said. You! Charlotte was secretly shocked and thought to himself, did I get her identity wrong? She's not just an ace agent of the French National Security Agency? She has another role in the French government? How is this possible? You still don't understand what I mean. Then what do you mean? Considering the relationship between France and Marika, we can't have any official contact with you. Otherwise, we wouldn't have invited you to France like this. I have already obtained authorization. For this transaction, only I will be in contact with you, and no one from the French government will be in contact with you. So that's the situation. Charlotte smiled. That's good. I've already made my conditions very clear. If you want to change, then change. If you don't, then there's no need to continue the discussion. They've set a bottom line for me, and I can't cross that bottom line. What they're willing to offer is the avionics technology of the Eurocopter. What else can they add? Civilian technology, such as environmental protection technology and battery technology. Haha, they're really generous. Good night. Charlotte got up and left. Wait. Jacqueline Eva grabbed Charlotte's hand. Mr. Xia, please don't go. Charlotte said, I don't see any sincerity from you. What else is there to talk about? It's not that we don't have sincerity, but what you're asking for is not equal. Charlotte sneered. You invited me here, and I didn't have to come here to talk to you. If you don't want to change, there will be others who will. Your Rafale's avionics and stealth technology may not be the best in the world, but my lathes, my XL 2500 sniper rifle, and the Gust assault rifle are the best in the world. There's an old saying in China, if you don't want to change, I'll change with someone else. If you come to me again, I won't even bother to talk to you. Things were valuable when they were rare. This was a truth in the business world. This truth could also be seen in the world of arms. France's Rafale was not the most advanced in the world, but Rema Group's lathes, the XL 2500 sniper rifle, and the Gust assault rifle production line were the best in the world. Although the level of technology provided by both parties was different, having a leader in the world could make up for the difference. More importantly, even if France didn't want to change, there were other countries who were willing to do so. Jacqueline Eva bit her lip lightly. Change, but the Thunder Dragon intelligent lathes have to be changed to the second generation. Also, you have to add the technology of the Hellhound one-soldier cannon. This was equivalent to taking away all of Rema Group's most advanced technology. The French were really asking for too much. Charlotte was so angry that he laughed. You really know how to calculate. Even the Jews can't compare to you French. Mr. Xia, race is not included in this deal. I think this deal is fair. Charlotte said, I'm willing to trade with the Germans again, but I won't trade with you. Trade with the Germans again? You've already built the production line and lathes for them. What other bargaining chips do you have? Don't be too greedy, Mr. Xia. Jacqueline Eva looked as if she had Charlotte in her grasp. Indeed, almost all of Rema Group's current technology was in the hands of the Germans. He really didn't have much bargaining chip. It was obviously very difficult to get high-end technology from the Germans again. Just from this reminder, the French had done a lot of preparation for this negotiation. Otherwise, Jacqueline Eva wouldn't be so confident. How about this? After a moment of silence, Charlotte said, there's no need to talk about the second-generation lathes. I can give you the technology of the Hellhound one-soldier cannon. What if we insist on the second generation of the Thunder Dragon intelligent lathes? Then we'll add the avionics system of the Charles de Gaulle aircraft carrier. You actually want to use the lathes to exchange for the technology of the aircraft carrier. You're really... Jacqueline Eva was a little speechless. She felt that this China person in front of her was really unreasonable. He was asking for too much, and he was asking for too much. It's not like I have to trade with you. This is my bottom line. If you agree, then we can discuss how to trade. If you don't, then there's no need to talk, Charlotte said. I have to talk to the higher-ups. You can call them. You have the whole night to discuss. See you tomorrow morning. Charlotte took his hand from Jacqueline Eva's and left her room. Jacqueline Eva thought that he would turn around, but all she saw was Charlotte's back and the door that he closed. Chapter 7:15. For the rest of the night, Jacqueline Eva didn't bother Charlotte again. Charlotte also had a good night's sleep. He wasn't worried about any accidents in the deal with France because he already knew what the French were thinking. On the surface, the Rafale's avionics and stealth technology were indeed much more advanced than Rema Group's smart machine tool technology and light weapons technology. In this exchange, the French suffered a great loss. But this was only a superficial comparison. The reality was not so. No matter what war it was, the people fighting were ultimately people. The quality of light weapons could sometimes determine the outcome of a war. No matter how advanced the fighter jets were, if there were no ground troops to attack, no country could win the war. The war on terror in Syria and Iraq was a living example. The United States and its allies bombed Syria and Iraq for more than a year, but the terrorists' territory didn't decrease. Instead, it expanded several times. Who could say that the United States fighter jets weren't advanced and powerful? But with Rema Group's light weapons, it was a different story. Even the Gale assault rifle had an effective range of more than a kilometer, comparable to a sniper rifle. Coupled with its extremely high accuracy and almost zero recoil, if the Syrian and Iraqi government forces were equipped with the Gale assault rifle and everyone was a sniper, they wouldn't have to worry about winning the war on terror. Not to mention the XL 2500 sniper rifle and the Hellhound cannon. Therefore, in terms of practicality, cost, war consumption, and the need to win the war, Rema Group's technology was actually more practical and more valuable than Rafale's technology. If the French didn't see these benefits, they wouldn't have invited him here under the pressure of the United States. In short, there was only one company in the world. Buy it if you want, or get lost. Since he had such confidence, what else did he have to worry about? That night, Charlotte also had a dream. He was the male lead in this dream, and Jacqueline Eva was the female lead in this dream. In that dream, he was a gymnastics coach, and Jacqueline Eva was a gymnast. He studied a lot of difficult positions with her, and she also unlocked many positions. The next morning, Charlotte met Jacqueline Eva in the living room. "Good morning, Miss Eva." Charlotte greeted him, but it was just a greeting. He didn't mention anything about the transaction and looked indifferent. Jacqueline Eva smiled. "Good morning, Mr. Xia. I have to go to the weapons and equipment department, so I won't be joining you for breakfast." "What a pity." Jacqueline Eva rolled her eyes. "Do you think it's a pity? Don't lie to me. You can't wait for me to not appear, right?" "Charlotte, I called them several times last night and told them about your request, but they didn't say anything." "They will hold a meeting, and as soon as they have a result, I will come to you," said Jacqueline Eva. "Oh, no problem." Charlotte was not in a hurry at all. Jacqueline Eva suddenly walked in front of Charlotte and wrapped her arms around his neck. Her towering breasts pressed against his chest. She blew hot air into his ear and said bitterly, I've never had a man treat me like this." Xia Lei had an innocent look on his face. "Did I do something to make you unhappy? I'm already like that, but you don't want me. In your eyes, I don't have the slightest charm?" Speaking of this, she suddenly reached out and dived. Charlotte frowned. He was a normal man, and this kind of teasing turned him into a powder keg. But the French woman in front of him was playing with fire next to the powder keg. Fortunately, Jacqueline Eva only teased him provocatively. She quickly let go of his hand and walked backward to the door. Her gaze was also fixed on the area between Xia Lei's legs. There was an extremely obvious change, which was also the reason why she was walking backwards. Charlotte was also generous and didn't even bother to cover it. "The perfume is in my room. Go and get it yourself. Don't worry, I didn't add any drugs in it." Jacqueline Eva left the room after saying this. Charlotte was stunned for a moment and then went to Jacqueline Eva's room. He had promised Long Bing, Tang Yuan, and Liang Xiao that he would give each of them a bottle of French perfume, so it would be a waste not to take Jacqueline Eva's perfume. After breakfast, Charlotte went to the Villepinte Exhibition Center. The matter in Italy was over, and he had to turn his energy to the International Army Weapons Exhibition. He left Paris 4 days ago. 4 days later, when he came here again, he found that the exhibition hall of Rema Group had completely changed. In the middle of the huge exhibition hall was a glass booth. Under the effect of the light, it looked like a crystal booth, full of sci-fi atmosphere. Around the booth was a glass art wall, which was arranged around the booth like stars around the moon. The workers of the renovation company were adding content to the glass art wall, some anti-war and peace-loving oil paintings, and some photos calling for environmental protection and the protection of endangered animals. In short, with these content as a foil, Rema Group didn't feel like a weapons manufacturing company, but an international peace organization. The employees of Rema Group were arranging the exhibit. They placed the XL 2500 sniper rifle, the Gale assault rifle, and the Hellhound cannon in the corresponding positions on the booth, and then adjusted the positions to pursue the best display effect. There were also people testing the audio and video system. At the beginning of the exhibition, the audio and video system in the exhibition hall would introduce Rema Group and all types of weapons under Rema Group from different angles. Not only the 3 light weapons that participated in the exhibition, but also the defense system that hadn't been fully produced, tanks and combat vehicles. The exhibition hall was busy, but it was also orderly, which made Charlotte happy. Although he didn't come, his people did the work that he arranged well. Qin Kaiyue saw Charlotte and greeted him with an intimate smile on her face. "Chairman Xia, good morning. Look, is this all right?" Charlotte smiled and said, "Yes, well done. After the weapons exhibition, I'll give you 3 days off. You can have a good time in France, and all the expenses will be covered by the company." The exhibition hall was suddenly filled with cheers. Qin Kaiyue looked at Charlotte, and her voice became lower. "Chairman Xia, you can also give yourself 3 days off. I'll accompany you to have a good time in France." Charlotte was a little tempted, but then the silver medal and the notebook left by Da Vinci appeared in his mind. The secrets left by Da Vinci were still waiting for him to go back and decipher, so he didn't have time to wander around France. Moreover, even if he had time, he wouldn't dare, because that would be exactly what the CIA and FA organization wanted. "Chairman Xia," Charlotte said, "I won't go, I have to rush back. Just take them to have fun and buy whatever you want. I'll pay you anything within 200,000 euros. Thank you, Chairman Xia." When she heard that Charlotte had to rush back, Qin Kaiyue looked disappointed, but when she heard that Charlotte gave her such a big preferential treatment, a bright smile appeared on her face. 200,000 euros, that's about 1.5 million yuan. How could she not be satisfied with such a generous bonus? A large group of workers looked at Qin Kaiyue enviously, and some people whispered, naturally talking about the secret relationship between Qin Kaiyue and Charlotte. Otherwise, why would Qin Kaiyue be given so much bonus? Some people even said that it was not a bonus but a maintenance fee. The whispers of the workers were almost inaudible, but Charlotte's lip-reading spell couldn't be hidden. He coughed awkwardly. "Everyone work hard. As long as the weapons exhibition is successfully completed, I'll give everyone a bonus of 20,000 euros, in addition to taking 3 days off and taking care of all the expenses." As soon as he said that, the workers cheered again. No one secretly gossiped anymore. Although Qin Kaiyue's bonus was 10 times more than theirs, what was her level? With a bonus of 20,000 euros, they would already be satisfied. What they didn't know was that the bonus that their chairman Xia gave them was just a hair on the 9 bulls they earned. Once the deal with France was successful, Rema Group's loan of more than 20 billion would be forgiven. Charlotte's net worth would double overnight. If there were no accidents, his assets would soon reach 1/3 of Shintu Tianin's. In fact, it was only a matter of time before he surpassed Shintu Tianin, and it wouldn't take long. Qin Kaiyue directed the workers of the renovation company and the employees of Rema Group to work, and Charlotte became a person with nothing to do again. He strolled around the exhibition hall, then walked to the other exhibition areas. He wanted to see how the other competitors were doing. Before long, a few young people entered his sight. There were 3 white people and 1 black person. When he saw the faces of the 4 people clearly, Charlotte's nerves suddenly tightened. These 4 people weren't tourists, nor were they the staff of the Villepinte Exhibition Center, but they were the Knights Hospitaller. In Bobbio, Italy, although he was lying in the grass and was about 500 meters away from the helicopter, to him, 500 meters was like looking at someone through a window. It wasn't difficult at all. Therefore, he saw them clearly at that time. He also clearly remembered that among the 4 people, the black person was a machine gunner of the minigang aircraft machine gun, one of the other 3 was a sniper, and the other 2 were commandos with assault rifles. He thought that these people would never appear in front of him again, but he didn't expect that they would chase him all the way to Paris in just 2 days. What's going on? When I went to Italy, I wore a human skin mask. Even if they saw my face, they wouldn't be able to find me. They chased me all the way here. Do they already know my identity? This is big trouble. Charlotte was shocked and anxious. The 4 people didn't seem to notice Charlotte. They walked past Charlotte without any abnormal reactions. Their route led to the exhibition area of the Belgian company FN. Charlotte stopped at the entrance of a company's exhibition hall and observed the 4 people from the corner of his eye. The 4 people didn't look back, but kept walking at a normal speed. Xia Lei was secretly puzzled. They're clearly the 4 gunmen on that helicopter. They're from the Knights Hospitaller. They've chased me all the way here, but they've turned a blind eye to me. Could it be that they're not here to kill me, but something else? This possibility was not impossible, because he could clearly see the faces of the 4 gunners from a distance of 500 meters, but the 4 gunners couldn't see his face clearly. In fact, the 4 people didn't even notice him at that time. If they had noticed him, he would have been shot to pieces by the minigang aircraft machine gun. However, just as Charlotte made this judgment, the white youth's footsteps paused slightly, and then he made a gesture of tilting his head. It was a gesture of observing from the corner of his eye. Charlotte pretended not to see it and quickly left. Chapter 7:16. Charlotte quickly left. The 4 Knights Hospitaller also changed their route and followed Charlotte. Charlotte walked toward the bathroom while making a phone call. "It's me, Charlotte. I know it's you. Do you want to ask me about the results? You're too impatient. They're still in a meeting. I'll tell you the results tonight." Jacqueline Eva's voice came from the phone. "I'm not asking you about the results." Charlotte lowered his voice. "The people who kidnapped me are here again. They're following me in the exhibition center. I'm in danger. Come and save me. Don't be nervous. I'll send someone over right away." Jacqueline Eva was also anxious. "Hurry up." Charlotte hung up the phone. The bathroom was right in front of him, but Charlotte suddenly changed his direction and walked in another direction. "Did he notice us?" the young man behind Charlotte asked in Italian. "That's impossible." Soren's tone was very certain. "He's never seen us before, but we have detailed information about him." "Alfonso, relax. Don't create a tense atmosphere for yourself." The young man called Alfonso wanted to say something, but he finally shut his mouth. It was not because he thought that Soren's analysis was reasonable, but because Soren was the leader of their team. Sometimes, Soren's words were orders. Obeying Jack. Soren's voice was not loud. You two go up from the right and go in front of him. The two young men nodded at the same time, then quickened their pace and went around the right side. Boss, are you going to do it here? Alfonso asked carefully. We're not those old men who have to be careful even when going down the stairs. If it weren't for them last time, and we were the ones to carry out the mission, would we be in such trouble today? Alfonso's eyes flashed with a hint of coldness. His bodyguards are not with him. He's alone. This is a chance to catch him. As long as we catch him, we can get the relic and give him the verdict he deserves. But there are a lot of French police and soldiers here. If there is a fight... Alfonso wanted to say something but stopped. He was very worried about this situation. Alfonso, I don't see any chivalry in you. The relic is very important to us. No matter the cost, we must obtain it. It is our honor to be recognized by the great commander. Those old men have been suppressing us and questioning our existence. Now is the time to prove our strength and chivalry to them. Such words seemed to add a halo to Soren's head, adding defense, agility, strength, and magic attributes. Alfonso stopped talking. He looked at Charlotte's back, his eyes filled with an intimidating light. This was the power of faith. In the Middle East, this kind of power would allow a man to strap bombs on himself and rush into a market. Charlotte quickened his pace. In front of him were two empty exhibition halls, and there was a passageway between the two halls. Charlotte walked to the middle of the two exhibition halls and was about to turn right. However, at this moment, two Caucasian youths walked over from the other end of the road. He turned around, but there were two young men, one black and one white, behind them. With no way forward and no way back, he was suddenly in a difficult situation. The 4 knights of the hospital quickly surrounded him. Follow us! Sauron's voice was cold. Soren's voice was cold. Who are you? Charlotte replied in Italian, looking very nervous. Soren said fiercely, Don't talk nonsense. Come with us or you will die here. Are you French police? I didn't break the law. Why should I go with you? Charlotte stretched out his hand. Show me your IDs. Soren gave the people behind him a look. Abayan suddenly put his hand into his waist. It was an action of drawing a gun. Charlotte would not let him have a gun. Just as Obayang's hand reached into his waist, he suddenly pulled back and struck Obayang's throat with his palm. Obayan groaned, covered his neck with his hands, and staggered back. His throat was hit hard, and the muscles in his respiratory tract contracted automatically. His brain was deprived of oxygen, and he almost lost the ability to fight in an instant. Charlotte leaned forward. Jack hurriedly stepped back. His hand also reached to his waist, ready to draw his gun when he avoided Charlotte. However, Charlotte did not attack him. Instead, he suddenly reached out and grabbed Soren's neck. Soren tilted his head to avoid it. However, this was still a feint. Xia Lei's hand suddenly sank, reached out, and grabbed Soren's pistol in his hand, as if he was taking something out of his pocket. Wing Chun Kung Fu is best at close combat. The skill he had learned from Qin Xiang had strengthened his ability to snatch a blade with his bare hands. This series of movements seemed complicated, but it was over in the blink of an eye. It was not until Charlotte grabbed Soren's pistol in his hand that Alfonso and Jack pulled out their guns. But at this time, Charlotte's muzzle was against Soren's head. Don't move. Charlotte rotated his right foot, and his whole body went around Soren's back like a compass, and his right hand kept the gun against Soren's head from beginning to end. He seized a subtle time difference. Although Jack and Alfonso had guns in their hands, they did not dare to shoot. Not to mention that Soren was in Charlotte's hands. Even if Charlotte had an ordinary hostage in his hands, they were not sure that they could shoot Charlotte. Because Charlotte's body was completely hidden behind Soren, there was almost no shooting angle. Don't worry about me. Soren roared. Kill him. Charlotte said coldly. Don't move or I'll kill him. Soren's 3 men hesitated and exchanged glances. Execute the order. Soren was extremely excited, and his eyes were full of excitement. If I die, it will be my honor. Soren's 3 men no longer hesitated. Abayan and Alfonso moved to the left and right of Charlotte at the same time, while Jack guarded the middle with his gun. The 3 men cooperated very well. Although Charlotte had Soren in his hands, he could not guard his left and right and back at the same time. Once Abayan and Alfonso went behind him, his situation would become very dangerous. Put down your weapon, Soren sneered, or you will die here. Charlotte suddenly became nervous. He used his left hand to clamp Soren's neck and dragged him back. It's useless. Put down your gun and come with us. As long as you bring out the thing from the labyrinth, we won't hurt you. Soren continued to use psychological warfare against Charlotte. Make them stop, Charlotte said sternly. Soren sneered, don't be stupid. Our understanding of death is different from yours. If you have the guts, open fire and kill me. But you also know the result of shooting. You will also die, so put down. Bang! A bullet suddenly flew out from the muzzle and pierced Soren's cheek. Blood and minced meat immediately burst out from Soren's cheek, revealing his white gums under the torn skin. "Ah!" Soren screamed. Even the power of faith could not withstand the bullet's damage. This shot also took away his glory. This was Charlotte's response. Don't dare to shoot? I'll try. Abayan and Alfonso's footsteps suddenly froze. Including Jack, Soren's 3 men did not expect Charlotte to be so ruthless. He actually dared to shoot Soren while being surrounded by 3 guns. Kill him! Soren's mouth was bleeding, and his voice was muffled. Don't move! A heavily armed Special Forces soldier suddenly appeared and warned in French. Behind him, a large group of agents from the French General Directorate of Security and Special Forces from the French National Gendarmerie approached with guns. Guns in front and people behind. It was an intimidating scene. This was actually the reason why Charlotte dared to shoot. He had already seen the arrival of the French from the reflection of the pillar. If it were not for the arrival of reinforcements, he would not have chosen to shoot. He would have tried to buy a little more time. With Soren as a hostage in hand, it was not difficult for him to do this. At this time, Soren's face was pale. This was not entirely because Charlotte destroyed his face. The main reason was that he confidently came to carry out the mission to kidnap Charlotte and get the holy relic. He did not expect to fall into a desperate situation in the blink of an eye. Put down the gun! An agent from the French General Directorate of Security roared in French. Don't shoot! Abayan raised his hands. Jack and Abayan also raised their hands, but they did not put down their guns. The 3 of them seemed to be waiting for Soren's next instruction. A large group of Special Forces, armed to the teeth, surrounded them. Charlotte, you will regret this. Soren's voice was filled with burning hatred. Charlotte suddenly let go of Soren, but his movement was half a beat too slow. Soren suddenly grabbed Charlotte's wrist, pressed down, and took away Charlotte's gun. Charlotte slammed into Soren's back and fell to the ground. Soren stepped forward, suddenly turned around, and fired at Charlotte. Click, there was no gunshot. Soren was stunned for a moment, then pulled the trigger again. This time there was still no gunshot. Only then did he realize that the gun did not have a clip. He suddenly realized something, and his mind went blank. Bang, 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 gunshots rang out, and bullets flew over like raindrops. Soren's chest and head were instantly torn open. Abayan, Jack, and Alfonso were not spared. They were almost turned into sieves in a second. The gunshots stopped. Charlotte got up from the ground. He looked at the bodies on the ground, and a sneer appeared at the corner of his mouth. He said to himself, "Sorry, I forgot to tell you, there is no clip in the gun." A few seconds ago, he had removed the clip before letting go of Soren. His technique was very clever, and Soren did not even see this sneaky move. This was the purpose of letting Soren go, to kill with a borrowed knife. These knights of the hospital were dead, and the French intelligence department could not dig out any information from their mouth. Agents of the Directorate General of National Security and Special Forces of the French National Gendarmerie rushed up. A few special forces poked the bodies on the ground with their muzzles. The guns in the special forces' hands had just been fired, and the muzzles were hot. Under such muzzles, the 4 bodies suddenly emitted a burning smell, and the smell was unpleasant. The 4 bodies did not react at all. Using hot muzzles to check if the target was dead was a cruel method, but it was very practical. "Mr. Xia, are you hurt?" A middle-aged French man in casual clothes asked Charlotte. "I was punched a few times by them, but I should be fine, thank you," Charlotte said. "Miss Eva is on her way, she will be here soon." "Okay, I see," Charlotte said. It did not matter to him whether Jacqueline Eva came or not, because he had already killed them with a borrowed knife. Chapter 717. The 4 bodies were carried out of the Villepinte Exhibition Center. Just as they were about to be transported away, Jacqueline Eva arrived. An agent from the French Directorate General of State Security walked up to her and whispered to her. As he spoke, he handed an evidence bag to Jacqueline Eva. The evidence bag contained the guns of the 4 Knights Hospitaller, their wallets, and the magazine that Charlotte had secretly removed. Charlotte had removed the magazine, but he pushed it into the pool of blood beside Soren when he was killed. There was only one reason for doing so. How did the magazine fall out of his hands? What did it have to do with me? Charlotte looked at Jacqueline Eva and the agent talking in a low voice. He used the lip-reading spell to decipher the conversation between the two. However, the conversation between the two was only related to the process of the incident. The agent narrated to Jacqueline Eva, and Jacqueline Eva listened, occasionally interrupting to ask a few questions. Such a conversation did not have much meaning. Charlotte's gaze moved to the 4 body bags. His left eye twitched slightly, and he used X-ray vision on the 4 body bags one by one. He quickly saw that the 4 people also had the emblem of the Knights Hospitaller tattooed on their chests. Their identities were confirmed without a doubt. Although he had used the Frenchman to kill these 4 people, his heart was still heavy, because the Knights Hospitaller would soon learn of this news, and more knights would come here. This was not the end, but just the beginning. The Knights Hospitaller called the silver medal the Medal of God and regarded it as a holy relic. However, the content left in the notebook by Da Vinci said that it was given to him by Zhu Xianyue. He had studied it, but unfortunately there was no result. Could it be that Zhu Xianyue stole the holy relic of the Knights Hospitaller in the Middle Ages? Or, that piece of metal belonged to Zhu Xianyue, but later fell into the hands of the Knights Hospitaller? It looks like a part of a sword, but even modern swordsmithing can't reach that level. Where did it come from? Charlotte's heart was full of questions. He tried to peel the cocoon, but it was bigger than a basketball. Jacqueline Eva ended the conversation with the agent. She walked to Charlotte's side and gave Charlotte a hug before she spoke. The gentle and boneless squeeze brought Xia Lei a sense of softness, and his mood also relaxed a lot. Those annoying questions also left his mind. "Are you okay?" Jacqueline Eva asked with concern. "I'm fine, thank you." Xia Lei lamented. "Fortunately, your men arrived in time. Otherwise, I would have been dead." "Are you sure they are the people who kidnapped you?" Jacqueline Eva looked straight into Charlotte's eyes. Xia Lei smiled bitterly. "Last time, they were wearing masks, so I didn't see them clearly, but I guess they're from the same group. It seems that I have to hide in the hotel. The outside world is too dangerous." Jacqueline Eva smiled. "You are so pitiful. I just realized that a rich man like you is not happy at all." "Yes, being rich doesn't necessarily mean happiness." Charlotte changed the topic. "By the way, did you find out where these people came from?" "I don't know. I'm still investigating. My men didn't find any ID in the evidence." "What about the people from last time? We didn't find anything, but we are investigating. I believe we will have results soon, Jacqueline Eva said. Charlotte didn't ask any more questions. He was sure that Jacqueline Eva knew about the existence of the FA organization and heard the name Yamosa, but she hid it. But this was exactly the effect he wanted. He played the role of a victim in this matter, and he played it very well. The 4 bodies were sent away. In the following time, Charlotte accepted some questions and then returned to the hotel. In the elevator, he received a call from Amanda. "Boss, we just found out what happened. You should leave France." Amanda's voice was full of worry. Charlotte said, "This exhibition is very important to me. I won't leave." "Then let me stay with you. Just like what happened before, if we stay with you, those guys won't have any chance. No, you can take care of the periphery. The French are protecting me. They are monitoring everything around me. If you move around me, you will be exposed." "But we are all worried about you." Charlotte smiled. "Thank you, but do you think I can't even handle 4 so-called Knights of the Hospital? In the Villepinte Exhibition Center, if I want to kill them, they will have to go to their god when I find them. The reason why I don't want to do it myself is that I want the French to kill them." "Well, keep in touch." Amanda hung up the phone. In the whole Zodiac team, the most powerful member was not a member, but Charlotte. This was also very clear to the members of the Zodiac team. As he walked out of the elevator, 2 special forces of the gendarmerie stood at the door and looked at Charlotte expressionlessly. Charlotte walked past them and then went to his room. At the door of his room, there were 2 special forces of the gendarmerie, armed to the teeth. In addition, there were agents and special forces at the staircase and the rooftop. This level of protection was comparable to that of the head of state. With this level of protection, why would he need to use the power of the Zodiac team? The French could block the pressure of the CIA for him, so the Knights of the Hospital would not be a problem. Back in his room, Charlotte received a call from Fanfan. "The higher-ups have agreed. If you can really exchange for the avionics and stealth technology of the Rafale, your bank loan will be cleared." It was Fanfan's voice. "That's great." Charlotte couldn't help but smile. "What do the French think?" "They are still discussing, but I don't think there will be a problem. Once they have decided, I will start the transaction. When the time comes, I need you to send people to receive the technology they provide." "That's not a problem. I have done you such a big favor, and you have earned more than 20 billion. How are you going to repay me?" Fanfan's voice was lazy and very seductive. Charlotte smiled. "What do you want?" "I am not interested in money. You know what I want. I have completed the research of the antidote. I look forward to your return every day. I want a miracle baby." No problem." Charlotte agreed readily, but it was a headache. This day was bound to come. Fanfan had already researched the right antidote, and she was ready to get pregnant. Now it was up to him to decide whether he wanted this child or not. Although he had already prepared the antidote, his desire to have a child was also very strong. After ending the call with Fanfan, the faces of women appeared in Charlotte's mind. Long Bing was the kind of woman who was prepared to dedicate her life to the country. Her love for the country was above everything else. She definitely didn't want to give birth to his child. Tang Yuyan was definitely not a problem, but if she wanted to give birth to his child, he would have to marry her and join the Tang family's camp. Liang Xiao was also not a problem, but it was hard to make up for a broken mirror. He still couldn't forget the feeling of being hurt by her. There was no problem with Shintu Tianyin either, but the damage she had done to him was greater than Liang Xiao's. Back then, he had given up everything for her, but she chose to let him be the scapegoat and chose the Wanxiang group. This was a very difficult hurdle to overcome. With this hurdle, how could he have a child with her? Then there was only Jiang Rui left. She was definitely willing. There was once when she was pregnant. Although it was fake, she was overjoyed at the time. If she was really pregnant with his child, she would definitely be extremely happy. But did he really want to have a child with her? When faced with this question, he hesitated. He had only gotten together with Jiang Rui because Jiang Rui had pestered him to the point that he had no other choice. Their relationship was far more important than love. Was it really the best choice to have a child with her? Lastly, there was Sylvia and Anina. They were both his lovers. If he asked to have a child, Anina would probably be 90% willing to have a child with him, and Sylvia would be 70%. However, his relationship with them was even simpler. They were purely comrades in arms, so he eliminated it without thinking too much. Then, he couldn't help but laugh with bitterness in his heart. He had many women, but he didn't even have a single one that he wanted to have a child with. The night came unexpectedly, but Paris wasn't quiet because of it. It stretched in the night, revealing its luxurious side. Jacqueline and Eva returned to the hotel. She was wearing a white round-neck t-shirt, and her black bra could be vaguely seen. She was wearing a pair of denim hot pants, which were only long enough to cover her butt. This was under the premise that she didn't move. Every step she took would reveal her snow-white skin. She was wearing a pair of New Balance sports shoes and a pair of socks. Her delicate ankles were exposed to the air, looking exquisite and beautiful. It gave people the feeling that they were carved out of white jade, sparkling and translucent. Last night, she was elegant and sexy like a noble lady. Tonight, she was lively and adorable, exuding a youthful aura. She looked like a university student. It was the same woman, but different. Her appearance seemed to brighten up the entire room. It was such a sexy and charming woman. Charlotte only greeted her before shifting his gaze to the television. There was a news program on, and a presenter was introducing the Paris International Army Weapons Exhibition in the Villepinte Exhibition Center. However, the news program had been on for more than 10 minutes, and the presenter hadn't mentioned a word about Rema Group. He didn't even give the Rema Group a single shot. Charlotte's cold reaction made Jacqueline Eva smile. She also sat on the sofa. "Don't you want to ask about the result of their discussion?" Charlotte moved his gaze away from the television. "What result?" "I'm not telling you." Jacqueline Eva looked annoyed. Charlotte shifted his gaze to the television again. "Okay." Jacqueline Eva smiled bitterly. They agreed, but they want to test the Hellhound cannon themselves. "How?" "Tomorrow." Jacqueline Eva said, "I'll take you to a military base. They will test the performance of the Hellhound cannon. In addition, there will be a heavyweight VIP for this test." "A heavyweight VIP?" Charlotte was curious. "Who?" "Beryl." Jacqueline Eva said a name. The name sounded like the name of a Chinese girl with the surname Bai, but in the English world, it was Beryl, which meant emerald. Emerald was known as the gem of luck, so the meaning of the name was that of a lucky and beautiful girl. "Who is she?" Jacqueline Eva said, "The chief assistant of the CEO of Lockheed Martin Corporation, Ms. Fossen. She will represent Lockheed Martin Corporation to watch the test." Charlotte was stunned. Chapter 718. Germany's Rheinmetall was already a behemoth in Ciale's mind, but if Rheinmetall was compared to Marlock Martinksi's company, the former was probably like a reserve soldier, while the latter was like a professional special forces soldier. In terms of comprehensive strength, Lockheed Martin Corporation was many times stronger than Rheinmetall. 1/3 of the U.S.'s defense orders were completed by Lockheed Martin Corporation. From this point alone, one could not see how terrifying its strength was. Germany's Rheinmetall was already an insurmountable mountain for Rema Group, and Lockheed Martin Corporation was an insurmountable moat. Charlotte's current ambition was only to surpass Rheinmetall, but the idea of surpassing Lockheed Martin Corporation was out of his reach. "Are you surprised?" Jacqueline Eva's tone was a little tentative. Charlotte smiled faintly. "I'm a little surprised." What I find strange is why you invited people from Lockheed Martin Corporation to watch the test. Didn't you say that the US couldn't know about this? In order to avoid annoying the US, the French government didn't even send people to negotiate. Instead, they asked you to talk to me. Indeed, the French government's attitude was somewhat inconsistent. Jacqueline Eva said, Lockheed Martin Corporation doesn't represent the U.S. government. As the world's largest arms dealer, it is a kingdom in itself. The Queen of Lockheed Martin Corporation and the King of the White House, from a certain point of view, actually have a lot in common. In my opinion, the difference is only the size of the power. That's great, but I think you're changing the subject. That's not what I'm asking. Jacqueline Eva shrugged. Well, I'll be honest with you. I don't know. I'm just a nobody. I don't understand the world of politicians, and I don't want to understand it. And I don't think it's a big deal. A senior employee of Lockheed Martin Corporation came to watch the test. This doesn't affect the deal between us. If nothing goes wrong, you will get what you want, and we will get what we want. That's enough. Well said. With a smile on his face, Charlotte said tentatively, however, is it possible that the French government is purposely pretending to have a secret deal while sharing my technology with the United States behind my back? You really are a suspicious person. Jacqueline Eva rolled her eyes at Charlotte. Do you think the U.S. will agree to exchange the Rafale's avionics and stealth technology for China's artillery, rifle, and machine tool technology? Charlotte just smiled and didn't continue the topic. The United States and China are the two largest economies in the world, and they are in a competitive relationship. Of course, the U.S. did not want China's air force to become more powerful. If that was the case, the U.S. would lose its air superiority, and this was something the U.S. would never allow. If that was the case, why would the senior executives of Lockheed Martin Corporation visit the test tomorrow? Charlotte couldn't figure it out. But he didn't care about that. If there was a secret deal between Lockheed Martin Corporation and the French government, it was a matter between the French government and Lockheed Martin Corporation. As Jacqueline Eva had said, the French government got what the French government wanted, and he got what he wanted, and that was enough. Mr. Xia, do you want to talk to me about the gunman? Jacqueline Eva changed the topic. Charlotte shook his head. There's nothing to talk about. I feel scared when I think of those guys. Are you scared? Jacqueline Eva moved her butt, and her plump butt was almost touching Charlotte's butt. Her upper body also leaned toward Charlotte bit by bit. Her full and firm breasts also pressed against Charlotte's arm. Before Charlotte could react, two soft, boneless things stuck to his arm. Miss Eva, can't you talk properly? Charlotte had a very obvious reaction, which made his mood a mess. Why did the pants always become smaller in this situation? It seemed to be an unsolvable problem. Can't we talk properly like this? Jacqueline Eva continued to press against Charlotte, and almost all of her upper body weight was transferred to Charlotte's body. Charlotte was speechless. If they could talk properly like this, then it would be a miracle. Charlotte's restraint and forbearance did not exchange for peace, but for the blonde woman's insatiable desire. Jacqueline Eva simply climbed onto the sofa and knelt. Her perky buttocks were raised high, and the pitiful denim hot pants tightened. All the dents were revealed, and the curve of her buttocks became more rounded, like the moon on the 15th day of the lunar month. The white round-neck t-shirt fell down, and a piece of snow-white skin was exposed from the collar. The delicate feeling seemed to melt with a breath. Charlotte could not avoid it, and was soon pressed against the sofa by Jacqueline Eva. What do you want? Charlotte asked a stupid and unnecessary question. This question was as stupid and unnecessary as meeting an acquaintance in the bathroom and asking, "Is it convenient for you?" The blonde woman climbed on top of Charlotte, and her cheeks were flushed. You bastard, I don't have the desire to use Marie today, and I'm not here on behalf of the French government. Do you understand what I mean? Charlotte shook his head. You are so shameless. Charlotte was speechless. Are you gay? Charlotte was stunned for a moment. A second later, he suddenly grabbed the blonde woman's small waist, and with a force, he immediately pressed her down. No man liked to be called a gay by others, not even the real gays. There was no doubt that Jacqueline Eva had angered him by calling him that. He wanted to show her what kind of man he was. What do you want? This time, this stupid and unnecessary question came out of the blonde woman's mouth, but her eyes were full of desire and need. Rip. There was a crack. Jacqueline Eva's round-neck t-shirt became an unbuttoned shirt. This was Charlotte's answer. If you don't take the village chief as a cadre, the village chief will take away your family's private land. Rude. The blonde woman's pink fist landed on Charlotte's chest, but there was not the slightest bit of strength. It was almost like a punch that tickled him. Rip. The ball cover also cracked. A large area of snow-white skin was revealed. It felt like the darkness before dawn was suddenly blown away by a gust of wind, and the two Mount Everest hidden in the darkness suddenly flashed out. It was breathtaking. Beast! Jacqueline Eva scolded, but there was a smile at the corner of her mouth. Her blue eyes were also filled with excitement. The man in front of her had become a hooligan, a beast. Wasn't this what she wanted? She had dug a trap. Wasn't she just waiting for Xiale to fill in the trap? Snap! There was a soft sound, and the button on the denim hot pants popped off. Charlotte suppressed his anger. A strange sound came from Jacqueline Eva's throat. She was like a girl surfing in the sea, navigating the turbulent waves with ease. Xiale would turn into a hooligan one moment, then a beast the next, and then an enhanced version of a hooligan and beast the next. However, no matter what Xiale turned into, she was happy to play the role of a saintess, using her gentleness to influence and melt him. The following night was not going to be peaceful. The dawn dispelled the darkness, and the city of romance slowly woke up from the darkness. It was impossible to count how many men and women had sex in the city last night, but Charlotte and Jacqueline Eva were one of them. In Charlotte's room, Jacqueline Eva came to the bed and called out to Charlotte, "Hey, Xia, you lazy pig. It's time to get up for breakfast." After experiencing what happened last night, she had changed the way she addressed him. Mr. Xia had also become Xia. The way she addressed him was very intimate. Charlotte had been awake for a long time, but he pretended not to hear it. "Well, it's all my fault. You must be tired. You should have a good rest, but you still have to get up. We still have to test the Hellhound cannon. If I'm late, those guys will teach me a lesson again." Charlotte still did not move. Jacqueline Eva reached out and pinched Charlotte's nose. "Are you going to get up or not?" Charlotte opened his mouth, but he still did not open his eyes. Jacqueline Eva thought for a moment. Suddenly, the most abundant part of her upper body was his face. Charlotte's voice came from below. "Do you want to suffocate me?" Jacqueline Eva got up and said with a smile, "If you die like this, you will probably be the happiest man in the world, right?" Charlotte got up from the bed. Jacqueline Eva stared at Charlotte. "It's great. You are the best man I have ever seen. Your body is like a Venus statue. I have never seen such a perfect body." Charlotte put on his clothes and said, "How many perfect bodies have you seen?" Only then did Jacqueline Eva realize that she had spilled the beans. Her face showed a trace of embarrassment. She turned around and walked to the door. "Hurry up, I will wait for you to have breakfast together." Western women were more open. This was a secret known to the whole world. How many men had she slept with? Charlotte actually didn't care about this question at all. He was just fooling around and playing along. He wasn't in a relationship. His purpose of asking her this was actually just to get her to leave. She watched him put on his clothes, which made him feel very uncomfortable. The atmosphere of breakfast was very pleasant. The French breakfast, the French women, and every detail revealed a romantic atmosphere. "I received the notice when you were still sleeping." When they were almost done eating, Jacqueline Eva said, The location for testing the Hellhound cannon is set to be at the AZ-14 military base. That is a military base of the Foreign Legion. The French Foreign Legion was a world-famous legion, and it was even more famous during World War II. Charlotte put down his knife and fork. I have to make a call. I have to ask my people to prepare the Hellhound cannon and shells for testing. Ask your people to also prepare the XL-2500 sniper rifle and the Gale assault rifle. They want to see the performance of these two guns with their own eyes, Jacqueline Eva said. Charlotte nodded. No problem. The French were really cautious, but he had absolute confidence in conquering the French. He estimated that after the test was over, it would be time to sign the contract with the French. Charlotte gave Qin Kaiwei a call, and Qin Kaiwei followed to prepare the weapons and ammunition for him. Half an hour later, Jacqueline Eva and Charlotte left the Star of Paris Hotel and were escorted by a long line of military SUVs to the French Foreign Legion's AZ-14 military base. Chapter 719. There was a regiment of soldiers stationed in the AZ-14 military base of the French Foreign Legion. Soldiers of different skin colors could be seen everywhere in this military base. They came from all over the world. There were Eastern European countries, African countries, Asian countries, and American countries. So many non-French soldiers were working for France. This was undoubtedly a miracle in the military world. There were also many tanks, armored vehicles, artillery, and armed helicopters in this military base. The weapons and equipment were all very advanced. Not long after Charlotte arrived, a French officer gathered the soldiers and then led the assembled team to the shooting range. The whole process only took 3 to 5 minutes. It was very fast. Charlotte followed Jacqueline Eva to the shooting range. It was a very large shooting range. Not only was there a shooting range for all kinds of firearms, but there was also a shooting range for artillery. Other than the soldiers and officers of this military base, Charlotte also saw a group of people in casual clothes. There were men and women. He did not know any of these people. However, he could also guess that there were people from the French Department of Arms and Equipment among these people. Perhaps there were also important figures in the French government. France was about to obtain and produce Rema Group's XL-2500 sniper rifle, Gale assault rifle, and Hellhound artillery. They definitely wanted to see the test results of these weapons for themselves. With a glance, Charlotte's eyes stopped on a woman's face. It was a very special face. She had the sapphire eyes unique to Western women, but also the exquisite face unique to Eastern women. She was a mixture of East and West, 50% Asian and 50% white European. The mixed blood also gave her a devilish figure. She was almost 180 centimeters tall. The mixed blood woman also shifted her gaze. When she saw Charlotte, her eyes paused for a moment. Charlotte's heart slightly moved, and he said to himself, "Is she the belle that Jacqueline Eva mentioned?" The mixed-blood woman only glanced at Xiao Lei for a moment before looking away. She did not seem to be interested in Xiao Lei's handsome appearance, nor was she interested in his mermaid-shaped body. This was a very rare situation. Ever since his body began to evolve, his figure, appearance, and even temperament had become more and more perfect. Most women could not resist his attraction, but this mixed-race woman was clearly not the one who was attracted to him. "Xia, how about we make a bet?" Jacqueline Eva nudged Charlotte with her elbow. Charlotte looked at her curiously. "What do you want to bet with me?" Jacqueline Eva smirked at the mixed-race woman. "Ask her for her number. I bet she won't give it to you. Let's make it bigger, how about 100 euros? Charlotte shook his head. "I'm not as bored as you. I'm already here. Why didn't anyone come to greet me? When does it start?" "Am I not greeting you?" Jacqueline smiled at Eva. "I've told you before that I'm in charge of this. The higher-ups won't get in touch with you." For some reason, Charlotte suddenly thought of an idiom, burying one's head while stealing a bell. The current attitude of the French, and what they were doing were the best examples of burying one's head while stealing a bell. They wanted the weapons technology of Rema Group, but they were afraid of upsetting the Americans. In fact, with the intelligence capabilities of the United States, it was only a matter of time before the American Intelligence Agency found out about this. Indeed, no one came to greet Charlotte. None of the group of people in casual clothes came to say anything. Chatting with Jacqueline and Eva, he observed the movements of the men. He used X-ray vision on them and obtained their identity information from their IDs. The mixed-race daughter was really by Lily. He used X-ray vision to see her pass, which was inside her collar. She's so young, yet she's already the chief assistant of Ms. Fossen at Lockheed Martin Corporation's CES. Her status in the workplace and her ability must be what gives her the confidence to be so arrogant, Charlotte thought to himself. However, he was not interested in this mixed-race woman. Arrogant woman? He had conquered Shintu Tianyin, who was as arrogant as a queen, and Shintu Tianyin represented the pinnacle of this type of woman. Therefore, no matter how arrogant a woman was, she was nothing in his eyes. At this time, a military truck drove into the shooting range, dragging several ammunition boxes. There were also a few people wearing uniforms with the Lockheed Martin Corporation logo sitting in the truck. The uniforms were all khaki, and the people's bodies were also very sturdy. They didn't look like ordinary workers, but more like experienced engineers. The military truck drove directly to the shooting range where the artillery was tested. After the truck stopped, the staff of Lockheed Martin Corporation began to unload the goods, not in a hurry. Then another military truck drove into the shooting range, and there were also several ammunition boxes in the truck. The boxes all had the Chinese characters Thunder Horse Arms on them, and they contained Rema Group's XL 2500 sniper rifle, Gale assault rifle, and Hellhound artillery. There were no Rema Group workers in the second military truck. After the truck stopped, an officer sent a few soldiers to unload the goods. A few soldiers quickly unloaded the weapons and ammunition of Rema Group. When a few soldiers went to report to their officer, Bai Li walked over to Charlotte and Jacqueline Eva. "You're Mr. Charlotte Xia, right?" Bai Li asked in English, her tone indifferent. "Yes, I am." Charlotte maintained a gentleman's demeanor and politeness. "May I ask who you are, miss?" Bai Li said, "I'm from Lockheed Martin Corporation. I'm Miss Fossen's assistant." Charlotte extended a hand and smiled. "Hello, Miss Bai. Nice to meet you." Bai Li didn't extend her hand. "My surname is not Bai, and I'm not Chinese. My father is Japanese and my mother is American. So, please don't call me by my name like the Han people do." Charlotte retracted his hand, and the smile on his face disappeared. No one liked to be treated coldly, and he was no exception. "I have a Japanese name, my Hattori. My father is Hattori Masao." After introducing herself, Bai Li extended her hand to Charlotte. First, she gave Charlotte the cold shoulder, and then she gave Charlotte a warm face. This woman's personality was really weird. This time, Charlotte didn't extend his hand. The scene suddenly became awkward. Under normal circumstances, when a woman took the initiative to shake hands with a man, the man usually wouldn't refuse, let alone a mixed-race beauty like Bai Li. However, this awkward atmosphere wasn't caused by Charlotte, but by Bai Li. Charlotte was never the kind of man who would be disoriented when he saw a beautiful woman. When he wanted to shake hands with Bai Li rejected him, which was equivalent to playing with him. Now, Bai Li wanted to shake hands with him. What the hell was he shaking hands with? Bai Li was indeed beautiful, a stunner, but he had played with beautiful women too many times, and he didn't care for them at all. Seeing that Charlotte didn't show any signs of extending his hand, Bai Li's blue eyes flashed with a hint of displeasure, and she put her hand down. Then, she turned around to look at a middle-aged man standing in the crowd. The man nodded slightly at her. Charlotte's gaze shifted to the man, and suddenly realized that the man's appearance was 50% similar to Bai Li Er's. His heart skipped a beat. Could that man be Bai Li Er's father, Hattori Masao? Why would a Japanese person appear here? This discovery gave rise to a trace of suspicion and vigilance in Charlotte's heart. Mr. Xia, let's begin. After saying that, Bai Li walked towards the firing range where the cannons were tested. She wore a black OL suit, a black OL skirt, black high heels, stockings, and a pair of long legs and perky buttock. Her back was extremely sexy. Xia Lei's left eye twitched slightly, and the corners of his mouth curled into a mischievous smile. What an arrogant woman! Jacqueline Eva whispered, "Let's go. We can leave after dealing with those guys." Charlotte followed Jacqueline Eva and whispered, "Eva, how much do you know about this Bai Li? Jacqueline Eva glanced at Charlotte. "What do you want to know?" Charlotte glanced at the middle-aged Asian man from the corner of his eye. Bai Li's father, Hattori Masao. The Asian man on our left. Jacqueline Eva also glanced in the direction of the middle-aged Asian man, and her voice became even softer. "How do you know he's Hattori Masao?" "I naturally have my ways," Charlotte said. "I know you must have his information. Tell me, what does he do? Why is he here?" "This." Jacqueline Eva revealed a troubled expression. Charlotte looked indifferent. "It's nothing. I can find out myself. If you find it difficult, then pretend I never asked. It's one thing for you to tell me, but I still owe you a favor. If I find out myself, then we won't even be friends anymore." This was the hidden meaning in Charlotte's words. "Don't say I told you." Jacqueline Eva moved closer to Charlotte's ear. "This Hattori Masao is a high-ranking officer in the Japanese Self-Defense Force. He's a general in the Self-Defense Force. A Lieu General was equivalent to a Lieutenant General. A general from the Self-Defense Force actually appeared here to observe the Rema Group's weapons test. What was going on? He's really a big shot, but why is he here? Who invited him?" Charlotte probed. Jacqueline Eva smiled bitterly. "I don't know much, and I can tell you even less. My advice to you is to not care so much, deal with those guys, and then leave here." "Thank you." Charlotte didn't ask anything else. After all, Jacqueline Eva was from the French General Directorate of National Security, and she also had her difficulties. Telling him about Hattori Masao's identity was already against the rules. If she revealed other secrets, then it would be a big problem. He did not expect that after sleeping with her, she would be obedient to him and prostrate herself before him. Although he didn't ask, Charlotte had his own guesses. The father is a general in the Japanese Self-Defense Force, and the daughter is a senior employee of the Lockheed Martin Corporation. It's impossible for this father and daughter to appear here without any tricks. What do the Japanese want? Hattori Masao, who was walking in front, turned back to look at Charlotte. Charlotte pretended not to notice and deliberately moved his eyes to Bai Li's butt. Chapter 720. A staff member of the Lockheed Martin Corporation opened their weapons box. Charlotte saw a Javelin anti-tank missile, a mortar, a sniper rifle, and a grenade launcher. The grenade launcher was the latest Lockheed Martin Corporation airburst grenade launcher, the XM-25. It had a range of 50 to 2,000 meters and was extremely powerful. The U.S. soldiers called it the Punisher. It had a huge destructive power against targets hidden behind bunkers. It was known as the King of Urban Warfare. As soon as the XM-25 airburst grenade launcher appeared, Charlotte's attention was attracted to it. His left eye started from the appearance of the XM-25 airburst grenade launcher. Finally, it went to the overall perspective and the details. All the structure of the XM-25 airburst grenade launcher, the materials of its parts, the accuracy of its dimensions, and so on, were all entered into his brain. This process ended very quickly, and a smile appeared at the corner of his mouth. It would not be long before the Rema Group would have a grenade launcher that was more advanced than the XM-25 airburst grenade launcher. If Charlotte was a spy and he admitted that he was second, then no spy in the world would dare to admit that they were first. Charlotte retracted his gaze and said with a smile, "What's the meaning of this? Is this a test or a competition?" "Mr. Xia," Bai Lier said, "are you worried about something?" Charlotte said indifferently, "What should I be worried about? No, I just want to figure out what's going on." "Do you Chinese like to be like this?" Bai Lier looked at Charlotte with a hint of provocation and contempt in her eyes. Charlotte frowned. "What do you mean?" "In your words, I'm pretending to be confused." Bai Lier said, "The French government cancelled an order for the Javelin anti-tank missile. The United Arab Emirates and Saudi Arabia also cancelled similar orders. They said they wanted to buy the Rema Group's Hellhound artillery. I came here to see how powerful the Rema Group's Hellhound artillery is. I want to see if it can't even compare to the Javelin anti-tank missile." So that's what happened. No wonder Lockheed Martin Corporation brought these weapons over. It seemed that they wanted to compete with Rema Group's weapons to determine the winner. On one hand, it was to understand the performance of Rema Group's weapons. On the other hand, it was to suppress them. Rema Group had entered the global arms market as a dark horse. Some of the international military giants had long been impatient and couldn't help but want to do something. Our weapons are excellent, and their price-performance ratio is also very high. It's normal for customers to choose our products. As long as it's a normal person, anyone would be willing to buy good quality goods at a low price, not famous brand goods," Charlotte said. Bai Lier's lips curled into a cold smile. "I've interacted with many China people, and they always give me the impression that they like to exaggerate. I hope Mr. Xia is not such a person." This made Charlotte very uncomfortable. Japan and China had a historical grudge that was difficult to resolve. The pirates of the Ming Dynasty, the Japanese invading China in World War II, these were all pain and humiliation that the kind-hearted Chinese could never forget. Although this was history and had little to do with modern people, people could not always live in hatred. However, the reason why most people did not like the Japanese was not just because of historical reasons, but because of some characteristics of the Japanese people. The Japanese advocated force and worshipped the strong. In the eyes of the Japanese, the weak were not respected. The history of invading China during World War II was not a mistake in the eyes of some Japanese. Instead, it was a glorious history that they were proud of. Many Japanese were polite on the surface, but in their bones they looked down on the Chinese. China's national strength was getting stronger, and the people's livelihood was getting better. This also touched the sensitive nerves of some Japanese. They often made irresponsible remarks about China or the Chinese, or did some things that made people feel disgusted. Bai Lier's father was a senior general in the ground self-defense force. She was the descendant of a Japanese soldier. The official challenge had not yet begun, but the Japanese-American woman had already started a war of words. A war of words was a war of words. Charlotte had never had stage fright before. "I have met a lot of Japanese. Some of them are very friendly and kind. However, there are also some Japanese who think they are infallible and always think that they are very great. In fact, that is just a manifestation of their narrow-mindedness and inferiority complex. They can't bear to see other people's things better than theirs, and they can't bear to see other people's lives better than theirs." "Miss Bai, do you think I am right?" "I hope that you are not such a Japanese. Oh, by the way, are you Japanese or American?" "My surname is not Bai." "I know." Charlotte's mouth had a hint of ridicule. "Are you American or Japanese? Is this question difficult to answer? Mr. Xia, is this how you treat a lady?" Bai Lier looked at him coldly. Charlotte said lightly, "My demeanor and politeness also depends on the person. If you think that I do not respect you, then so be it. I don't care about any of your feelings. Also, I want to remind you that if you want to gain the respect of others, you must first learn to respect others. You. Bailey Er's head was about to emit smoke. Jacqueline Eva moved closer to Charlotte's ear and whispered, "She is a natural person born in the United States. According to American law, she was born as an American. At the same time, because of her father, she is also a Japanese." Charlotte nodded and thought to himself, this woman's identity is really special. The reason she was able to become the chief assistant of the CEO of Lockheed Martin Corporation, Ms. Fossen, is probably because of the identity of her father, Hattori Masao. And for Hattori Masao to appear here, I'm afraid he wants to see the performance of my weapon with his own eyes and then do something stupid, right? A Frenchman in plain clothes gave Jacqueline Eva a look. Jacqueline Eva then said to Charlotte, "Mr. Xia, we can begin." Charlotte walked to a few ammunition boxes with Rema Group printed on them and then opened all of them. One of the ammunition boxes contained the Hellhound cannon, another contained the XL 2500 sniper rifle, and another contained the Gale assault rifle. As for the remaining two ammunition boxes, one contained several types of artillery shells needed for the test, and the other contained ammunition for the XL 2500 sniper rifle and the Gale assault rifle. This ammunition box was very small. A Lockheed Martin Corporation employee carried an anti-tank Javelin missile and walked over. He went straight to the point and said, "Mr. Xia, the target is the target tank and the ground fortification 2,000 meters away. Do you want to go first, or should I?" Charlotte glanced in the direction of the target and saw an abandoned tank located 2 kilometers away. There was also a ground fortification made of reinforced concrete. The fortification looked like a pillbox from World War II. There were also some human-shaped targets set up around the pillbox. Those targets were there to test the damage of the artillery shells. At a glance, he already had confidence in his heart. "Mr. Xia, why don't you go first?" the Lockheed Martin Corporation employee said. Only then did Charlotte say, "You guys are really professional to use anti-tank missiles to compete with my artillery." Then, he said loudly, "A guided anti-tank missile is sold for about $100,000 on the market, but our Hellhound cannon is only $50,000, and it comes with 10 shells. It's no coincidence that we're able to win the favor of the market. It's inevitable. Mr. Xia, cheap doesn't mean good stuff. You should try your Hellhound cannon in front of us. Don't brag first and then embarrass yourself," Bai Lil said bluntly. Charlotte was too lazy to bicker with her. He put on his earplugs, took out an armor-piercing shell, and quickly loaded it. Then, he aimed at the abandoned tank and pressed the trigger. Boom! Almost 1.5 seconds later, a hole was blasted open on the scrap tank. Flames burned and thick smoke billowed. A large group of French people and the soldiers of the French Foreign Legion were stunned. If such a cannon was brought to the battlefield, it would be the terminator of tanks and ground fortifications. My Hattori was also shocked. She looked at Charlotte and the Hellhound cannon on his shoulder, dumbfounded. With such a simple operation, a range of 2 kilometers, such great power, and such a low cost, who would buy the Javelin anti-tank missile? The Javelin and Dow anti-tank missiles were the main anti-tank missiles of the United States. They were popular all over the world, and many countries were willing to spend a lot of money to buy them, making the United States a lot of money. But now, the appearance of the Hellhound cannon was playing the role of a spoiler, rudely occupying the market that should have belonged to the Javelin and Dow anti-tank missile. Bai Lil's heart was already shocked, but her face didn't show the slightest bit of surprise. She glanced at her father, Hattori Masao, and the father and daughter had a very secretive look. Boom! But under the shocked gazes of the large group of visitors, Foreign Legion soldiers and officers, Charlotte fired a second shot. Boom! The ground fortifications 2 kilometers away were blasted into a large pit by a high-explosive shell. The surrounding human-shaped targets were also destroyed by the shell's splashes. Some fell, some were smashed, and it was a complete mess. If it was a group of enemy soldiers, no one would be able to get up and fight at this time. The whole place was silent. The impression that the Hellhound cannon gave people was not a cannon, but a shoulder-mounted tank. Not only did such a tank not burn fuel, but it could also pass through alleys, climb buildings, and drill through grass, making it impossible for the enemy to defend against it. After firing 2 shots, Charlotte took off the Hellhound cannon and casually threw it into the ammunition box. Then, he picked up the XL 2500 sniper rifle, loaded the bullet, raised the gun, and aimed at the farthest target. "That's impossible." In the Foreign Legion, a lieutenant said in surprise, "That target is 2,500 meters long, and no one has ever hit it before." As soon as he finished speaking, the XL 2500 sniper rifle roared. No one could see if Charlotte hit the target because it was too far away. But just 3 seconds later, a colonel holding a pair of binoculars suddenly exclaimed, "Oh my God! He hit the target and it's the bullseye!" The originally quiet scene suddenly exploded. The Lockheed Martin Corporation employees carrying the Javelin anti-tank missiles looked at Charlotte in a daze, not knowing what to do. The XL 2500 sniper rifle has long been proven in actual combat. It is the best sniper rifle in the world. Not convinced? If you're not convinced, then hit the target before challenging me. After saying this, Charlotte casually threw the XL 2500 sniper rifle into the ammunition box and then picked up the Gale assault rifle. Didn't the French want to see the performance of the Rema Group's weapon? Then let them open their eyes. Chapter 721. Bang, 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 bang. The Gale assault rifle roared, and a bullet shot out from the muzzle, aiming at the target 1,000 meters away. In the blink of an eye, the pitiful target was torn into pieces, and it was no longer a target. However, the most shocking thing was not the range and power of the Gale assault rifle, but the fact that there was no obvious vibration on the body of the gun, and the recoil was almost zero. The effective range was 1,000 meters, the accuracy was extremely high, the power was terrifying, and the recoil was almost zero. What assault rifle in the world could compare to the Gale assault rifle with these characteristics? Not to mention the assault rifles that Lockheed Martin Corporation had brought this time. Even if Lockheed Martin Corporation brought all of its assault rifles here, they would not be able to pick out a single one that could beat the Gale assault rifle. This was true for the Gale assault rifle, and even more so for the sniper rifle. Although Rema Group was only a small company that produced light weapons, and could not be compared to Lockheed Martin Corporation in terms of light weapons, Rema Group was actually the world's leader. After emptying a clip, Charlotte casually threw the Gale assault rifle into the ammunition box. He clapped his hands, turned around, and walked away. As he walked, he said, "I've already demonstrated to you. I think you're very clear about the performance of Rema Group's weapons, right? That's it then. Goodbye, everyone." He left just like that? He did not put the people and weapons of Lockheed Martin Corporation in his eyes at all. A large group of visitors, soldiers, and officers of the French Foreign Legion watched speechlessly as Charlotte left. The most embarrassed person was Bai Lier. She came here on behalf of Lockheed Martin Corporation to test the performance of Rema Group's weapons, and then let the French see the inferior quality of China's weapons. However, she did not expect Charlotte to shock everyone with just one move and conquer the hearts of everyone here. What made her even more angry was that Lockheed Martin Corporation had not even started testing the weapons, and Charlotte actually clapped his hands and left. This attitude was not just disdain, it was simply a crime. Charlotte did not even turn his head. "Mr. Xia, please wait," Hattori Masao said in English as he walked towards Charlotte. Charlotte stopped in his tracks. "What's the matter?" Hattori Masao said with a smile. "Mr. Xia, I'll take up some of your time. Please step aside for a chat. I'm in a hurry to get back to work. If you have something to say, just say it. Because of Bai Li, Charlotte didn't have a good impression of Hattori Masao. As the saying goes, like father, like daughter. Bai Lili was an arrogant and conceited person, so how could Hattori Masao be any better? What's more, Hattori Masao was a general of the Japanese ground self-defense forces. This identity also disgusted him. Mr. Xia, I won't take much of your time. What I want to talk to you about is also beneficial to you. Hattori Masao didn't give up. Charlotte hesitated for a moment. All right then. Please follow me. Hattori Masao walked towards an empty spot. Charlotte followed Hattori Masao, guessing what Hattori Masao wanted to talk to him about. In fact, he was willing to give Hattori Masao some time not because of any benefits, but because he wanted to know why Hattori Masao was here. As for benefits, even if the Japanese offered him great benefits, he wouldn't trade with them. Feeling that he was far enough, Hattori Masao stopped in his tracks. He turned to face Charlotte and smiled in a friendly manner. Mr. Xia, you are the greatest genius I've ever seen. I respect you very much. Let's be friends. A member of the Japanese ground self-defense force took the initiative to make friends. Almost no one would refuse such a thing. However, Charlotte was not interested and his attitude was indifferent. Did you call me here just to say this? Forget about making friends. If you have something to say, just say it. Hattori Masao's face suddenly had an awkward expression. He felt very uncomfortable, but he didn't show it. He still maintained a friendly smile on his face. Mr. Xia, is it because of my daughter? She is indeed insensible. I apologize on her behalf. She didn't do anything wrong. You don't have to apologize to me. Charlotte seemed to have lost his patience. I've convinced Mr. Hattori. If you really have nothing else to say, then I'll be taking my leave. Hattori Masao was silent for a moment before he said seriously, I want to buy your weapons. All types of weapons. XL 2500 sniper rifle, Gale assault rifle, and Hellhound artillery. If you can transfer your technology, then we'll give you a considerable price. Charlotte was stunned for a moment before he couldn't help but laugh. Mr. Hattori, you want to buy Rema Group's weapons? Is that true? Hattori Masao looked very serious. Mr. Xia, do I look like I'm joking with you? As long as you agree, we can give you a price higher than the market price. You sell weapons to France, the United Arab Emirates, and Saudi Arabia. Why not sell them to us? We're willing to pay 20% higher than the market price. You're a businessman. You should pursue the maximum profit. I want to make money. Pursuing the maximum profit is also the nature of a businessman. Charlotte changed the topic. But what? I want to buy Japanese electronic technology. Give me a price. Charlotte said. This. Hattori Masao suddenly frowned. The United States was the most technologically advanced country in the world, but it was inferior to Japan in the field of electronic. Japan's electronic technology led the world, and Japan's SLR cameras almost monopolized the world. This was a very obvious example. In fact, China had to import many electronic components from Japan. Whether it was industrial production or national defense, it was very passive. Charlotte smiled. Why? You don't want to sell? As long as you're willing to sell, I promise to give you a good price. Hattori Masao's face suddenly turned ugly. He thought that Charlotte was considering whether or not to accept his proposal. He didn't expect Charlotte to go around in a circle to trick him. Who was he? When had he ever been treated like this? You don't want to? I want to buy your Japanese electronic technology, and you're not happy. You want to buy my things, and I have to agree just for that little bit of money? What kind of logic is this? Is this the logic of the Japanese? Mr. Xia. There was a trace of anger in Hattori Masao's eyes. Even if you don't want to sell, we can buy it from other places. You're a private entrepreneur. Don't you think you're stupid if you don't want to earn money? Charlotte sneered. If you can buy it from other places, then that's your ability. I can't do anything about it. But if you want to buy it from me, forget it. Charlotte, don't need that stinking money. Humph. The conversation ended unhappily. Hattori Masao snorted and turned to leave. Charlotte said, Mr. Hattori, let me give you a piece of advice. There is no empire in this world that will never fall. Hattori Masao looked back at Charlotte. What do you mean? Charlotte's tone was indifferent. I'm not talking about Japan, because it has never been an empire. I'm talking about the United States. The ancient Persian Empire, Roman Empire, Tang Dynasty, Yuan Dynasty, and Ming Dynasty have all disappeared. So, don't create new hatred. Otherwise, one day the fire will burn you to death. Hattori Masao said coldly, If you said that in Japan, I would send you to prison. Charlotte said, If we were in China, I wouldn't send you to prison. I would beat you up. You. Hattori Masao's square face suddenly turned green with anger. He, a dignified continental general, was being lectured by a Chinese kid. However, this was France. The former President Nicolas Sarkozy could argue with a fisherman in this land. What could he do to a Chinese kid who bickered with him here? Charlotte turned to leave. Whoosh! The staff of Lockheed Martin Corporation still fired the tagged anti-tank missile. The missile flew out of the launcher and flew straight to a damaged tank target with a fiery tail. The biggest disadvantage of a tubular anti-tank missile like the Javelin was that the tail flame exposed the shooter's position. Moreover, the shooter needed to maintain an infrared lock and couldn't move. Usually, it took nearly 10 seconds for a wire-guided missile to hit its target. In such a long time, if it was discovered and the tank fired, then it would be over. The anti-tank missile flew for a few seconds before hitting the tank target. With a loud explosion, the tank target was destroyed and flames soared into the sky. In terms of power, the Javelin anti-tank missile was stronger than the Hellhound cannon. However, whether it was the launch time, the speed at which it hit the target, or the shooter's survival rate, it was far inferior to the Hellhound cannon. It was also a combat mission to destroy a tank. If a soldier had to choose, he would definitely choose the Hellhound cannon instead of the Javelin anti-tank missile. Sure enough, after the Lockheed Martin Corporation's Javelin anti-tank missile hit the target, the French people didn't applaud or cheer. They didn't even look surprised. Many of them just glanced at it indifferently and then moved their eyes to the Hellhound cannon left by Charlotte. Some people even moved their eyes to Charlotte. Judging from the reaction of these French people, they were not interested in the Lockheed Martin Corporation's Javelin anti-tank missile, but they were full of desire for the Rema Group's Hellhound cannon. All of this fell into Charlotte's eyes, and he couldn't help but smile. Those French people will draft the contract soon and then sign it with me. Just as this thought came to his mind, Jacqueline Eva quickly walked over to him. Xia, are you really leaving? Jacqueline Eva said. Charlotte said, Well, I know what their weapons are. I don't like them at all. There's no point in me staying, so I want to go back. Let's go together. Jacqueline Eva lowered her voice. They have already discussed it. It's a deal. In an hour, they will fax the contract to me, and then I will sign it with you. That's not a problem, but I want to know how I can get what I want. This is not the place to talk about this kind of thing. Let's go back to the hotel and talk. Charlotte nodded. When he left, his eyes moved to Bai Lily, who was also looking at him. Her eyes seemed very cold, and there was even a trace of resentment mixed in. Charlotte was disdainful, and he secretly said in his heart, You're just an assistant, what's there to be arrogant about? You're only worthy of talking to my assistant. I'm already giving you face by talking to you. Alright, don't look anymore. You've made them so angry, you're definitely done for. Jacqueline Eva said mischievously. Charlotte suddenly remembered something. Right, I have a condition. What condition do you have? Jacqueline Eva suddenly became nervous. I've already talked to those people, you can't casually add conditions. I've also added this condition. Charlotte said, my technology can't be sold to Japan, and the weapons you produce can't be sold to Japan. If you do this secretly, once I find out, I won't provide the core of the smart machine tool. Jacqueline Eva shrugged, then laughed. I thought it was some kind of condition. Do you think we French are philanthropists? We've paid such a big price, how can we share it with the Japanese? Don't worry, this kind of thing won't happen. I want to write this in the contract, Charlotte said. Jacqueline Eva was speechless. Chapter 722. Shortly after returning to the hotel, Charlotte saw the contract. There was no name of any French government agency in the contract, only Gaulish Technology Company. This was obviously a temporary shell company, and the legal representative of the company was Jacqueline Eva, the person who signed the contract with him. The contract stipulated that Party B, Rema Group, would provide Gaulish Technology Company with the Brontosaurus smart machine tool, as well as the production line for the XL 2500 sniper rifle, Gale assault rifle, and Hellhound cannon. Gaulish Technology Company would also pay Rema Group in installments. Gaulish Technology Company would pay the goods in 4 installments, 25% each time. The so-called goods were the avionics and stealth technology of the Rafale. It was not marked on the contract. You guys are really careful. After reading the contract, Charlotte frowned and said, the contract indicates what Rema Group wants to provide to you, but you use the goods to replace the things you want to provide. And you pay 25% each time. Are you kidding me? Jacqueline Eva said, Xia, please understand our difficulties. We can't leave any evidence that the Americans can use against us. If we specify the avionics and stealth technology of the Rafale in the contract, once the Americans find out, we will be in big trouble. It's just a name. You want the technology, not the contract. No matter how we write the contract, it will not change the content of the transaction. If we execute according to the contract, we will get what we want. Isn't this fine? Even if the Americans found out about this secret transaction in the future, this contract could help the French government out of trouble. Because this contract could prove that the French government was not involved in this transaction, but a Gaulish technology company was trading with Rema Group, using money to buy Rema Group's technology and equipment. Charlotte smiled. You French are really smart. Okay, I have no objection to this contract. But I will decide the process of the transaction. How are you going to deal? Charlotte thought for a moment. I will produce everything I need in China, and then ship it to France for assembly. The first is the production line for the XL 2500 sniper rifle. When the equipment and my engineers leave our territory, you have to provide us with 25% of the technology. I will provide the Thunder Dragon AI machine tool in the 4th transaction. You have to provide the last part. Well, Jacqueline said with a troubled look on her face. The higher-ups want to provide you with the technology after the production line is built, but you want to pay once the equipment leaves China's territory. I'm afraid they won't agree. Charlotte said, if you don't agree, then there's nothing to talk about. I've already made a concession. You've replaced the avionics and stealth technology of the Rafale with the payment of money in the contract. In the future, the Western media will inevitably say that our spies stole your technology. At that time, we won't even have a bit of evidence. I can't let you take all the benefits, right? Jacqueline Eva shrugged. Okay, I'll call them right away. I think I can convince them that your weapon has conquered them. Charlotte smiled. We can sign it after you talk to them. Jacqueline took out her cell phone and made the call. She didn't avoid Charlotte. Just as Jacqueline was on the phone, Hattori Masao and Bai Lil appeared in Charlotte's mind again. He couldn't help but think about these two people. Then he got up and went to the bathroom. In the bathroom, he called Amanda. Amanda, help me find the address of these two people. Who? Amanda's voice sounded. Charlotte said, the chief assistant of the Lockheed Martin Corporation's CEO, Bai Lil. She also has a Japanese name, my Hattori. The other person is Hattori Masao. He's a general of the Japan Self-Defense Forces. Be careful when you check on this person. Don't let him find out. Got it. I'll call you when it's done. Amanda hung up. Footsteps sounded behind him. Charlotte hurriedly put away the satellite phone, unzipped it, and poured water into the toilet. The footsteps stopped at the door. A second later, the door was pushed open by Jacqueline Eva. She poked her head in through the crack of the door and smiled sweetly. Xia, I've already talked to the people above. They said there's no problem. We can sign the contract now. Charlotte looked back at her, looking a little depressed. I'm peeing. Can't you see? Yes, I did. Jacqueline Eva looked serious. You are indeed relieving yourself. Charlotte was speechless. Let's sign it after it's done and have a good celebration. Jacqueline Eva giggled and then retracted her head from the crack of the door. The bathroom door was finally closed. Charlotte heaved a sigh of relief. The water that had stopped flowing was unblocked again and splashed into the toilet. Amidst the sound of water, he said to himself, Brother, I'm afraid I'll have to trouble you again later. How does the romantic French meal taste? After a while, Charlotte walked out of the bathroom. Jacqueline Eva had already prepared everything. The contract and the pen to sign, herself, and a bottle of Chateau Lafayette red wine that had already been opened. Charlotte walked over, picked up the pen, and signed the two contracts. When Jacqueline Eva had also finished signing, he suddenly picked her up by the waist and walked to the bed. I have a boyfriend, Jacqueline Eva suddenly said. Her eyes were filled with a tentative look. Then I'll make him a cuckold, Charlotte said. Jacqueline Eva was speechless. Xia lay rudely threw the Frenchwoman onto the bed with both hands. When the Frenchwoman's body left his embrace, she suddenly reached out and wrapped her arms around his neck, immediately pulling him down. Of course, eating a French meal once was not enough. Who was her boyfriend? Charlotte didn't care at all. He just wanted to knit a few more green hats for her boyfriend. Early the next morning, Jacqueline Eva left with a contract. After eating the breakfast provided by the hotel, Charlotte also received a call from Amanda. Boss, I've found it. Amanda's voice. Tell me, where are the two people? 123 Stanislaus Street. That's a general office of Lockheed Martin Corporation in Paris. It's also a research center of Lockheed Martin Corporation in Europe. Amanda's voice. What are they researching? Biotechnology. Charlotte's heart skipped a beat. Biotechnology? What exactly? Probably biological weapons. I'm not sure. The building's firewall is very strong. It took me a few hours to break in. However, I only saw the two people you mentioned, but didn't see what they were researching. There's a laboratory there, but it's isolated. I can't access the laboratory's system. Charlotte thought for a moment. Can I get in? Amanda said, Boss, I advise you not to take risks. That place is heavily guarded, and the electronic defense system is very advanced. If you want to sneak in, I estimate that the chances of you being discovered are 100%. Charlotte couldn't help but suck in a breath of cold air. Amanda was very clear about his strength, but even if he went personally, the chances of him being discovered were 100%. He couldn't help but wonder what secrets were hidden there for it to be so heavily guarded. How's Alessio's injury? Charlotte collected his thoughts. He's recovering very quickly, but I'm afraid he'll need another month to recover his combat strength. Take care of him. Maintain the status quo. Charlotte hung up the phone. Half an hour later, Charlotte arrived at the Villepinte Exhibition Center. Yesterday, the people from the renovation company had already assembled the glass wall and hung the related artworks on the wall. On the other side, Qin Kaiwe led the staff of Rema Group to finish the layout of the booth. Rema Group didn't have many exhibits, but with this layout, Rema Group's exhibition hall became the most distinctive hall in the entire Villepinte Exhibition Center. Art and weapons, these two completely unrelated elements, combined together, was very different, very eye-catching, and could leave a very deep impression on people. While Charlotte was chatting with Qin Kaiwe, a few people walked into the Rema Group exhibition hall. The two at the front were Hattori Masao and Bai Lily, whom he had met at the Foreign Legion's military base yesterday. Behind Hattori Masao and Bai Lily were a few attendants. There were upright Asians, and there were also tall and strong Europeans. In fact, it wasn't hard to tell that these upright Asians were all Japanese, and they were soldiers of the self-defense forces. They were all Hattori Masao's guards. The Europeans were Bai Lily's attendants, most likely her bodyguards. Another possibility was that these Europeans were Lockheed Martin Corporation personnel. Qin Kaiwe was about to greet them when Charlotte nudged her arm with his elbow. Go do what you need to do. These people aren't customers, so you don't need to greet them. I'll deal with them. Qin Kaiwe was slightly stunned. Then, she nodded and turned to leave. Hee. Hattori Masao had a smile on his face. He was still as friendly as ever. Mr. Xia, we meet again. Charlotte went up to him and said in English, Yes, Mr. Hattori, we meet again. However, the Paris International Army Weapons Exhibition hasn't started yet. You guys are a little early. It's not early. Hattori Masao said, I came here to look for you, Mr. Xia. I don't care when the Army Weapons Exhibition starts. Why are you looking for me? Charlotte said, If it's about yesterday, then don't say anything. I don't want to talk about it. A trace of embarrassment appeared on Hattori Masao's face. He glanced at Bai Lily beside him. This seemed to be a hint. Bai Lily took a small step forward and bowed deeply to Charlotte. Mr. Xia, I was rude yesterday. Please forgive me. It's fine, it's fine. There's no need to apologize to me. I didn't lift you up. As he spoke, Xia Lei reached out to hold Bai Lil's hand. The moment he held Bai Lil up, his fingers quickly and cleverly placed something in her suit pocket. Bai Lily and Charlotte were facing each other, and the people behind her couldn't see Charlotte's movements at all. In fact, even if Bai Lily didn't block their line of sight, they wouldn't be able to see it. Charlotte's hand speed was extremely fast, and his skill in emptiness had long surpassed Qin Xiang's by several times. How could a non-professional person discover his small movements? Mr. Xia, you are a graceful man. A smile appeared on Bai Lily's face. Charlotte also smiled. Let's not beat around the bush. What do you want? Just say it. Chapter 723. Bai Lir said, This is not the place to talk, Mr. Xia. Can we talk somewhere else? Our Lockheed Martin Corporation is also participating in this exhibition. The Villepinte Exhibition Center has given us an office. That place is very quiet, so we can talk there. Charlotte shook his head. I'm very busy right now. I'm sorry, but I won't be going. Bai Lir said, Mr. Xia, I can tell you for sure that you won't be disappointed. Charlotte thought to himself, this woman and her father are both Japanese, and her father is a general in the self-defense forces. Her identity is very special, and if I were to come into contact with her, I might get into trouble. But what does she mean? What is she hinting at? Human curiosity was a very strange thing. Mr. Xia, please follow me. Bai Lir was very polite today. Charlotte hesitated for a moment. All right, I'll go with you. But my time is limited, so I won't be there for long. No problem, it won't take up much of your time. Bai Lir smiled and turned to lead the way. Xia Lei's gaze shifted to Bai Lil's suit pocket. The tapping device that was placed in that pocket had already started working. That bug was the equipment of the Zodiac Squad. Once it was in working mode, Amanda would receive its signal. After she dealt with it, he would be able to eavesdrop on the conversation between Bailir and others with a special receiver. However, now was not the time to use the receiver. Xia Lei followed Bailir to another exhibition area. This exhibition area was filled with Marika's arms giant. Lockheed Martin Corporation, General Dynamics, Boeing, Raytheon, and Northrop Grumman. The top 5 arms giants of these 5 companies, even the Barrett Company, could not stand in this exhibition area and had to stand to the side. In this exhibition hall, the number 1 arms giant in the United States occupied almost a third of the space in this exhibition hall. All kinds of light weapons could be seen everywhere in its exhibition area. Assault rifles, sniper rifles, pistols, submachine guns, grenade launchers, machine guns, and so on. There were also some large equipment such as Apache attack helicopters, large transport helicopters, armored tanks, mine-clearing vehicles, engineering vehicles, anti-aircraft missile systems, and so on. There were so many that it was dazzling and impossible to count them all. This was only Lockheed Martin Corporation's land weapons, not Lockheed Martin Corporation's air and sea weapons. Lockheed Martin Corporation was the manufacturer of the F-22 and F-35 fighter jet. These 2 fighter jets were the most advanced fighter jets in the world. Seeing such a scene, Charlotte was shocked. He was ambitious. He wanted to develop Rema Group into the world's most powerful arms company. However, when he saw the types of weapons and the level of technology in Lockheed Martin Corporation's exhibition area, he realized that it was more difficult to realize this dream than to reach the sky. He still had a long way to go. This was definitely not to boost the morale of others and diminish their own prestige. This was the truth. If the current Rema Group and Lockheed Martin Corporation were compared, Rema Group was like a stray dog, while Lockheed Martin Corporation was a lion. Charlotte couldn't help but think of the scene yesterday. In the French Foreign Legion's military base, he didn't take Lockheed Martin Corporation seriously. Now that he thought about it, he couldn't help but feel embarrassed. Passing through Lockheed Martin Corporation's exhibition area, Bailir brought Charlotte to the office area in the exhibition area. She walked to the door of an office and stopped. "This is it. We're here. Mr. Xia, please come in." She reached out and opened the door. In fact, before she opened the door, Charlotte had already seen through the office. It was just a very ordinary office. Charlotte walked into the office. Hattori Masao also walked into the office and closed the door when he entered. All the attendants were kept outside the door. Charlotte didn't intend to be polite with the 2 Japanese. He casually sat on the sofa and said, "Tell me, what do you want to talk to me about?" Hattori Masao sat opposite Charlotte, but didn't say anything. He looked at Charlotte in silence, as if he was thinking about how to speak. Bailir didn't say anything. She went to the wine cabinet and took out a bottle of red wine from a French winery and 3 wine glasses. She placed the 3 wine glasses on the coffee table in the middle of the sofa and poured wine into the 3 glasses. During this process, she didn't even look at Charlotte. "Don't pour the wine," Charlotte said. "It's my working hours now. I don't drink." "Mr. Xia, are you afraid that I'll drug the wine?" Only then did Bailir look at Xia Lei. Her tone was polite, but there was a hint of contempt in her eyes. Charlotte said indifferently, "You're right. I don't believe you." Bailir suddenly picked up a glass of wine, tilted her head, and downed the glass of wine. Then she drank the 2nd and 3rd glasses of wine. After drinking 3 glasses of wine, she licked the corner of her mouth with her tongue. "Mr. Xia, is there no problem now?" Charlotte still shook his head. "You might need to take the antidote in advance." "Bailir, if you don't want to drink, then don't." Hattori Masao smiled bitterly. "Mr. Xia, I know you have a prejudice against us Japanese. I know that it's because of history, but I hope that we can abandon the past and focus on the future. Well said. Charlotte smiled. But I don't agree with you. I don't have any prejudice against most Japanese. Farmers, blacksmiths, cartoonists, and even women who sell their bodies to make movies. I don't have any prejudice against these Japanese. The animation industry and the love-action film industry had long become the two calling cards of Japan. In China, whenever Japan was mentioned, the first thing that came to mind was comics and love-action films. Hattori Masao and Bai Lil looked at each other. The father and daughter were not slow-witted people. The father and daughter could actually feel the hidden meaning in Charlotte's words. That was, Charlotte would rather follow Japanese comics and love-action films than talk about business. Mr. Xia, well, I don't expect you to change your impression of me after one or two contacts. I don't want to waste your time, so I'll just say it. Hattori Masao said, yesterday you said that if Japan wants your technology, we need to exchange it with electronic technology. Last night, I called back home and asked for the opinion of the relevant people. He said that he could consider it. Let me ask Mr. Xia, what kind of electronic technology do you want? Charlotte was stunned. Yesterday, he said that he wanted Japan's electronic technology in exchange, but that was just an excuse to make the Japanese leave. He didn't want any electronic technology at all, but he didn't expect that in just one night, this Hattori Masao had obtained the approval of the Japanese government and would formally contact him about this deal. Mr. Xia, don't be polite. Just tell me what you want. Bai Lil said, our Japanese electronic technology is very good, especially microelectronics. In this field, we even surpass the United States. Surpass the United States? That was in the 1980s. Charlotte said, in that era, your Japanese electronic technology was indeed ahead of the world. But now it is the 21st century, and you have long been left behind by the United States. Besides some home appliances, what else do you have? Which computer now uses your Japanese CPU? Which computer is using your Japanese operating system? Also, the electronic industry is an open industry, and everything we need can be bought in the international market. We also have our own investment and research, and it won't take long for us to catch up. Under this background, why should I exchange with you? Humph. Are you saying that our Japanese electronic technology is so bad? The United States is indeed ahead of us in many areas, but we also have places that surpass the United States. Bai Lil said, the precision and accuracy of our electronic components are the best in the world. A very simple example is our robots. In this world, which country's robot technology can surpass ours? Isn't robot technology built on electronic technology? Charlotte laughed. With so many electronic components, you don't want to use semiconductors or something to exchange for my technology, do you? Hattori Masao said, of course not. We will make this deal with you with the greatest sincerity. Mr. Xia, you don't have to make a decision immediately. You can think about it and then tell us what you need. We will try our best to meet your conditions. Okay, I'll go back and think about it. Goodbye, you two. Charlotte got up and left. Bai Lil got up and saw Charlotte out of the door. After watching Charlotte leave, she closed the door. Father, this guy is very annoying. Just now, I really wanted to slap him. Bai Lil said hatefully. There's an old saying in China that goes very well. If you can't bear it, you'll ruin the plan. He's annoying, but he has something that can threaten us. We have to get his technology. We also have to think of a way to interfere with the development of the Thunder Horse military factory. Otherwise, if this continues, the advantage we currently have in military technology will disappear. At that time, I'm afraid we'll have to live under the nose of China. Hattori Masao frowned, as if he had a lot on his mind. Father, do you think he will fall for it? As long as we have patience and take it step by step, he won't be able to escape our trap. Hattori Masao sneered. Electronic technology? No technology from the great Japanese empire will fall into China. Father, Madame Fossen called me, Hattori Masao interrupted Bai Lil. I know what she wants. We'll place an order for Lockheed Martin Corporation. Bai Lil smiled. Then let's talk about how to deal with that kid. To realize our plan, we need the help of one person. Who? The CIB's Asia director, Gu Qian. Hattori Masao said, I've already contacted her, and she's willing to cooperate with us. Her target is Charlotte, and our target is Charlotte's technology and the Thunder Horse military factory. We have the same goal. If Charlotte dies in her hands, it'll be the most beneficial for us. Hee. Bai Lil couldn't help but laugh. Even the CIB wants his life. He's really annoying. He's annoying, but what I want you to do is... Hattori Masao whispered into Bai Lil's ear. Bai Lil's mouth opened slightly, and her beautiful face was full of embarrassment. But after some hesitation, she nodded. For the benefit of the great Japanese empire, I'm willing to make a sacrifice. At the same time, Charlotte, who was walking in the corridor of the exhibition area, cursed. Damn, there's only the two of them in that office. What are they whispering about? I should have waited at the door for a while. When he left the office, he had already activated the receiver and eavesdropped on the conversation in the office. But what made him depressed was that Hattori Masao was whispering to Bai Lil at the crucial moment. But it didn't matter. He had already decided that he would give these two Japanese a surprise. And Gu Qian. She must die. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Nights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.